95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey Sports Station. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Definitely the case with OT is definitely early in the offseason still. So not too much to take away, but obviously some things to talk about.
Mike Danger.
That's kind of how I look right now. I kind of look just like Jay Cutler. Like, really? I really don't care.
You don't care.
Oh, who cares? Let's talk about the Mets here.
Gene Battaglia.
No, we don't need to talk about the Mets. Yes.
You don't want to talk about the Mets?
Let's go Mets.
Darren Waller, yo. How about that? Listening, it's a good skill to have.
Also, I don't want to watch Hard Knocks anymore. It sucks, but I'm going to watch it.
The Bears.
Touchdown! Touchdown Bears! And for the third time in Dallas Mavericks franchise history spanning 44 years, the Mavericks will play for the NBA championship. Winners of the Western Conference.
My name is Luca.
And the Panthers take Game 5 by a 3-2 final score. And the Panthers take a 3-2 lead in this Eastern Conference final.
The Stars and Oilers break their 2-2 tie in Dallas tonight. Love you, Rochester.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
A very good afternoon to you as we welcome you into Rochester's only local sports talk show. You found the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The Fan Rochester and the free to download Odyssey app also on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. And we've got the stream up and rolling for you now. You can watch the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester and at twitch.tv/The Fan Rochester. That there in front of us, that is the weekend. Gino, I am fired up.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm wearing my Rochester Royals t-shirt.
Wait, hold on a
today.
second. Let me see that.
Yeah, it's like, no, this is not from way back in the day. This
I
was
got
like,
confused. No, I thought that was like a high school team or something like that.
No,
what are you wearing? What
it's
is
a semi-pro the team?
Rochester Royals?
The Sacramento Kings actually put out like Rochester Royals merch the other, and this was like how many years ago? 7, 8. They don't have anything in the Kings team store anymore because they didn't make any money off of it.
No,
That's
not enough people from Rochester.
I guess not. Yeah.
None enough people in Sacramento care about the tradition and the royalty of the Rochester Royals. No.
And I feel like I know there's a few people like me that think it's really, really cool and would buy everything up, but not enough apparently.
What did the Rochester Jeffersons become in the NFL? Do we know, or did they just dissolve?
No, they just dissolved,
Oh.
and that was it. Like you look back at the history of the NFL, there were a lot of teams that just kind of went poof. It's just like any other business; things went out of business. It wasn't until post-war that teams actually stuck.
Well, we've got a lot of NFL to get to this afternoon, including our Buffalo Bills, who made a signing today that we will dive into.
It's if we were doing the Sports Bar, the Onion version, it's going to sound like that.
Yeah, this isn't an Onion headline. We talk about this so much, and it is kind of comical. We'll discuss who the Buffalo Bills signed and what it may potentially mean here through the course of the afternoon. We've also got some great guests stopping by the Sports Bar to talk MLB. Our buddy Jim Riley from the Barreled Up podcast and the Odyssey app, and also Ballcap Sports on YouTube. We'll get a little check on Major League Baseball with Riley when he stops by at 425.
Yeah, so we'll talk to Riley. He's a Jays fan. The Pirates going up north of the border this weekend. Some of the other matchups, you've got the Sox taking on the Tigers. But I think the story in the American League is the story that concerns the team that most Rochesterians care about the most. It's the New York Yankees. They are winning games. They're doing it a different way with pitching. Now, they have an injury. We will talk to our guy about that. But the Yankees, could they actually be players at the trade deadline and pull somebody in? Or are we really taking Hal Steinbrenner at face value, talking about payroll in the future and Juan Soto, and could this go the other direction? Fun baseball conversation coming up in the 4 o'clock hour that you will not want to miss.
And then stopping by the Sports Bar in person, in studio, our buddy Mike Rottola, former RIT goaltender. I love having Mike in the studio with. He's a good time.
I think Mike should have his own show or his own pod. I think that he's that good. Honestly, I think he's got takes. He's got opinions. He played hockey at the highest level in college.
Yeah.
So I'd love to get his opinions here on what we're seeing in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals, the Eastern and the Western, I should say, with the Rangers now down 3-2, and it just seems like Florida is the better team. And yes, I know the Western is tied at 2, but I think Dallas is the better team. So I think we're going to get the matchup danger that we don't want. That's Dallas and Florida, but let's see what Mike has to say about that. And Mike is also a big Yankee fan, so he has takes on that team.
Yeah, we can't wait to get him in here. There'll be about 20 minutes or so. We'll have Mike Rotolo stopping by the sports bar. You can join us by pulling up a stool at 585-866-4FAN. That number again, 866-4326. We're also on X at The Fan Rochester. You can engage with us there. The table is set. You're right. You're right, Gino. Like if we were writing headlines for The Onion, if the Buffalo Bills had like The Onion, Buffalo Bills version, this would be the headline. You know what we know about Sean McDermott. We know about his affinity for wrestlers. He was a wrestler, competed at a high level, won state titles, the whole thing. And it's almost like whenever we know that there's a prospect during draft season that has that wrestling in their background, we immediately say, well, that's somebody that McDermott's going to target. He's going to target that guy. He's going to fall in love with that guy. Well, why worry about drafting a collegiate football player who has a wrestling background when you can just sign a gold medalist in wrestling, which is what the Buffalo Bills did today.
Gabe Stevenson is his name.
Gable Stevenson.
So I guess he doesn't go by Gable Stevenson. Danger, I had never heard of this individual. And the Bills, I find it funny. They announced they signed defensive tackle. Really? Has he ever played defensive tackle
So
before?
the story is he worked out with the Bills recently, and it was his first time wearing cleats. He's never played football. Now, gold medalist at the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. So
okay, give him that.
He's the top of his craft as a wrestler, a heavyweight wrestler. And he was actually signed to the WWE and was released recently, earlier this month, released by WWE. So the Bills swoop in, and the word is that there were other teams that were interested in him. I don't buy it. If the agent is saying that there were other teams interested in signing him, I'm not.
Can we get another source other than the agent?
I'm not buying it. I think that this guy got signed. I have a lot of thoughts as to why this guy gets signed, and ultimately it may not even matter. This is probably a practice squad player at best. At best, he's a practice squad player.
Okay, that's fine. But when you couple this with drafting a rugby player, actually, yeah, you spent a draft pick on another player that has never played a down in football before. What are we doing here? You could say, hey, these guys could develop and they could. This is actually the best option for your team. Why are the Buffalo Bills, Mike Danger, so much smarter than the other 31 teams to see this path, to look down at, hey, there's talent over here. Why don't we spend the time? You are wasting time and energy with these two men.
It's just next level arrogance. It's the idea that these guys are exceptional athletes and we can turn them into really good football players or serviceable football players. The problem I have with it, though, especially when you're talking about guys who have never played football, and Stevenson has never played football, eventually you're going to have to, as a coach, burn some calories in telling these guys just how to play the game. And that time that you're spending in developing guys who've never played the game could be served in helping develop guys who have played the game and still need to be better at their jobs as they are right now. And I'm talking about the starters on the defensive line for the Buffalo Bills. I'm talking about Ed Oliver. I'm talking about Greg Rousseau. These guys still could use coaching. These guys could still play better. They haven't reached their full potential. And I'm wondering if they haven't reached their full potential partially because you've got coaches working with guys who've never played the freaking game before. And then there's this. This was not presented in any of the materials by the Buffalo Bills or Adam Schefter or nobody wants to talk about what happened with Gable Stevenson in 2019 before he won the gold medal.
Wait a second. You mean the media Goombas did not put this out there? It's not a detail we can overlook here.
No, it's a part of the story. It's not a part of the story they want you to know, but in 2019, Gable Stevenson was accused and suspected of criminal sexual conduct. Now, he didn't face criminal charges, partially because in Minnesota, where he was going to school at the University of Minnesota, there was a law that said a person couldn't be charged for rape or for sexual assault if the victim was willingly intoxicated. And that was the case in 2019. Now, Minnesota changed that law. That loophole has been closed as of 2021, but Steveson got off on a technicality for sexual assault, criminal sexual conduct. So that's on his that's in his past as well. Never charged, so I guess all things are okay. We don't have to talk about that. Yeah, I just kind of think if you're ever in that situation where you're being accused of that, even if you're just being accused of that, you maybe didn't get charged, and you could say, oh, kind of a garbage human, just to be in that spot.
Okay. Which team had a story like this where somebody was Oh, that's right.
It was the Bills.
Oh, yes.
It's the punt god.
Is it a double standard, or is this, hey, you play this position? And
you know what I'm going to say. Yeah. Well, I say it all the time. The only standard is a double standard. The only standard that exists is a double standard. This guy's a wrestler. This guy's a gold medalist. We're not going to talk about what happened in 2019. Let's talk about his ability to wrestle. Let's talk about his athleticism. He's a freak athlete. Watch him on the field. Watch what we can do with this guy. Hey, good luck. And who knows? My best guess is, at best, he will be a practice squad player for the Buffalo Bills. At best. But they've added to their defensive line in adding a player who just recently wore cleats for the first time in his life.
You know, the Bills brought in Linval Joseph last year. You remember that? The big guy. And he's still sitting out there. And maybe Linval Joseph is done. Maybe he wants to retire. Maybe he doesn't want to deal with any of this camp nonsense. But there are guys that actually played in this league that are free agents anywhere between age 26 and up. And again, I can't wrap my mind around it. Like, you're actually going to spend time teaching somebody how to play football.
There's another part of this, too, and I'm going to say this knowing, obviously, that the Bills operate like every NFL team operates under a salary cap, and that signing this guy to his 3-year, undrafted rookie, it's not a lot of money, but I do think that the Bills are cheap. I think the Bills are pinching pennies right now, and I think that's probably coming from above. I think that the idea that if a guy like Steveson hits, you're never going to pay a guy like Steveson what you would pay a guy in the draft, a guy that you drafted defensive tackle in the first round. You know what I'm saying? He's never going to make Ed Oliver money or Aaron Donald money or any of that. He's just never going to be that expensive.
That's fair. I would just say the cap is real.
Of course.
I would say, I would point to other things too. Like, I'm not going to say that the Bills aren't pitching pennies, but when it comes to the cap, I think Brandon Beane, he's kind of taking a half step backward. He's kind of getting rid of some dead contracts. I don't think this is it. I think there's other things, too, if you want a couple. Hey, why are you letting in somebody who could own up to 25% of the team, maybe even a little bit more? We don't talk enough about that. Why is that? Like, the Nighthawks. They're for sale, folks. You like the Nighthawks? You better support them because they could be playing in St. Louis in 2 years, for all we know.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's danger. Any signing that happens now that we don't like, we're going to point to, all right, well, you do have money problems, and maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's true in this instance. Maybe it's not. But it is a fact, though, that the Bills have a little bit of a cash flow problem right now.
It sounds like it, feels like it, and I know that stadium is going to cost more than they probably anticipated. But it's another 2 players on your 90-man roster that have never, 91-man roster when you factor the international pathway player, but you've never played football.
Well, I guess the Bills can always point to the guy they drafted in the 7th round, and that is like the long play. He's not making the team. He can be on the practice squad, and maybe 2 years from now, where did that get Christian Wade? Christian Wade, big touchdown. How many times were we asked about Christian Wade?
Yeah, look, I mean, Travis Clayton and Steveson, at best, are going to be practice squad players for this team. And maybe it is a long play. And again, I do think it's
peak arrogance, peak Buffalo Bills arrogance. We don't have one, but we have two players who have never played football before. But watch, we can turn them into something, or maybe we can turn them into something. If we do, won't we be the smartest people in the league?
What do you remember about the Tokyo Olympics? I don't remember much. I remember watching a little baseball. I remember watching the marathon.
COVID is what I remember about the 2020 Olympics.
Yeah, right. They played it like more than a year, or competed more than a year later. Sean McDermott was watching all the wrestling, right? I didn't watch a second of wrestling. He's probably subscribing to whatever Peacock was putting out there for.
I don't know, Gino. I'm going to go ahead and just add this log to the I hate every move they've made this offseason fire. I don't get it, man. I get it, but it doesn't mean that I feel like it's right. It doesn't feel right.
Here's why I don't like it. This does not help you win games in 2024. Period. End of story. I would love for this wrestler to prove me wrong and come up with a big sack at a key time. What are the odds that somebody has never played a down of football? Not in any sort of pro level, not in college, not in high school, not in freaking Pee-wee!
He just put on cleats for the first time when he tried
Pop Warner, I think they call it. What are you doing?
He just put on some cleats for the first time at his tryout for the Bills. All right.
And you announced this on a Friday.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds like a kind of a news dumpy thing on a Friday.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Look, if anything, training camp will be entertaining this year, won't it? I mean, we've got the wide receiver competition.
Listen, we got to scrub. We can't post this online because then somebody will be like, "Hey, here's your interview, Gabe."
Oh, you know. Yeah, you know. I mean, right now, if you were to say to us right now, "Hey, who do you think you guys are going to talk to this year at training camp?" I would say Travis Clayton would be my first pick in the draft, and then my second pick would be Gable Steveson. We'll talk to the guys that have never played football before. That's who they'll bring over to the sports bar during the Bills' time at Fisher. So there you have it. The Bills adding another player without football experience, but climb the top of the mountain in the world of wrestling. Mm-hmm. Give it up for Gable Steveson, gold medal wrestler, signing with the Buffalo Bills.
Kazoo effect.
Yeah. It's embarrassing! And, oh, by the way, he might be a trash human being. Might be. That's your Bills news for today. And aside from that, look, there's we'll get to this later, and I'll drink to that. I know you've got some takes. I've got to take. The NFL is there's a couple of things happening in the NFL. One that I know you're going to discuss, Gino, the new kickoff rule that we talked a little bit about yesterday. And there was also a story today. The mayor of London has made it pretty clear that they want to host a Super Bowl.
So many angles of that one.
Yeah.
Look, if you are a mayor and you're not campaigning for your town,
sure,
like that. Like, show me something more than the mayor, though, putting this out there. Mm-hmm. But to your point, we're heading in a different direction in the NFL. We're going to get to 18 games. And I know a lot of people are like, yeah, more football, yeah. Hey, I'm the same way. Not to take anything away from your take, because I know you got thoughts on that. But part of the 18 games is going to be, hey, you know how the Bills were in London last year? Well, guess what? That extra game, everybody is going to be overseas somewhere. So that's part of the equation that they've been kind of easing us into this pool. It's like, hey, I know you're getting ready to swim this weekend, Danger. You get in the pool, and like some people like to cannonball in. Some people just like to kind of like inch their way down, and this is what it kind of feels like. Hey, at the beginning, oh, this doesn't feel so good. Okay, I'm used to it. And then you kind of go in, oh, this is used to it. And finally you dunk your head in and you're all in. Mm-hmm. That's where we're going to be with the NFL in our lifetime. I'm talking about Super Bowls in places you never could have imagined, franchises in places you couldn't have imagined, divisions that have nothing to do with our borders.
Global brand. It's a global brand, and it will continue to expand to every far reach of the globe that it can reach to. Maybe save for Antarctica. I don't know if they're playing a game on Antarctica, but they'll find a way to get to Australia. They'll find a way I know that Spain has already been discussed. Africa will be, they'll figure it all out.
They're talking about playing a game in Australia, which that's 13 hours from LA. Like,
Yep.
what are we doing?
Yep. Mike Rotolo, our buddy, stopping by the sports bar to hang out with us for a few. Can't wait to talk to him about what's going on here with the Stanley Cup playoffs, get his take on the Rangers-Panthers series. We've got a pivotal Game 5 tonight.
We do.
Pivotal.
In Dallas.
Game
Pivotal.
5, between Dallas and Edmonton. And we know Rotolo has some Yankees takes as well. We'll discuss some of that with him as he joins us here in studio next. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on The Fan.
You're listening update.
Buffalo Bills make a roster move on this Friday. Player you've never heard of. Actually, he's never played football. Gable Stevenson, an Olympic champion in wrestling. The Bills will try him out at defensive tackle. On One Bills Live, here's Chris Trapasso.
So I think we're talking up the field pass rusher, speed, leverage, handwork. I mean, you're not going to have any concerns with how he uses his hands to win the leverage battle, because that's obviously how you win a gold medal.
In the corresponding move, the Bills releasing punter Matt Hawk. Rochester Red Wings continue their homestand tonight. St. Paul is the opponent. Yankees and Giants tonight in San Francisco. That highlights your Major League schedule. NBA, the finals don't begin until Thursday. Dallas and Boston. We do have a Game 5 tonight in Dallas as the Stars hosting Edmonton. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, we're just, focus on tonight, trying to win a game in Dallas here and go home with a lead. That's where our focus is at. It's all about tonight.
Why are you so pissy?
That's Leon Draisaitl. Pivotal Game 5 tonight between the Oilers and the Stars. Back in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. And we welcome in our guest in studio, former RIT goaltender, friend of the Sports Bar, Mike Rotolo, stopping by. Buddy, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming in on a Friday afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. It's
Now,
always fun to be here.
For folks not watching on YouTube or Twitch right now, Mike has the Masters hat on there. That is sweet. Tell her, because you didn't get to go down there, but you had an in, though.
I did. My brother-in-law went. So my wife's brother, his good buddy won the lottery for a practice round, and I told him, you got to at least get me a hat while you're there, because they don't even sell anything like this online. You can only get it on site. They don't do any brands. They do their own Masters brand. So he got me a nice little Masters snapback hat to bring home.
And I know as a sports fan, I should know this, but you say it's a lottery. To get tickets, it's like a process. I've never tried. I've always thought, well, if I go to the Masters, it's going to be like an opportunity that just presents itself. But you actually have to be very proactive if you want to go, and you're joining this large pool of people also trying to just set foot at Augusta National.
Yeah, it's insane. I was telling Gene as I was coming in here, probably for 12 years now. So, I mean, I'm 30 now. So when I was 18, I've been doing this for me and my dad, entering the lottery, and they don't really give you a choice. You either get selected for a day or you don't get selected. And I'm 0 for 12, so we'll keep going. One of these days we'll hopefully get a swing and a hit here, but nothing so far.
Yeah, and for anybody who wants to enter, June 20th is the deadline. Danger, we should just do it. What the heck? Why not?
Yeah.
Although we'd be taking a chance away from you.
Hey,
though.
do it. I'd be happy if somebody got it that I knew. So I don't care. Everybody's got to give a shot. But one of these years we'll see, but not looking good.
Yeah, Mike Rotolo, we'll talk a little Yankees with you. We'll get your opinion on what has happened since we last saw you to the RIT hockey team here. It's been interesting. Let's start with the Stanley Cup Finals, which are coming up. And for the Eastern, the Western, we have two series that are still up in the air. Are we going to get the series that we all hope for in the final in Edmonton, Connor McDavid against the Rangers, or maybe, in my opinion, actually the two better teams here, Dallas and Florida? What are you seeing so far?
Yeah, I'm going with the latter. That is who I felt. From a viewing standpoint, whether you're a hockey fan or you're not, I think that's the best matchup to watch when it comes to Florida and Dallas. Obviously, Connor McDavid is must-watch television. But me, from a goaltending standpoint, I don't enjoy watching Skinner play, and I feel like he's kind of their kryptonite in a good or bad way. So when he's good, they tend to win, and when he's bad, they don't really tend to. So I think that's the best matchup on paper would be Florida and Dallas. A long way to go. I think the Florida series is over personally, but that's just me.
We were having a conversation a couple of weeks ago as the playoffs were kind of advancing, and the notion of top-heavy teams not being able to win a championship came up. And when you look at Edmonton, that was they are what you would consider to be a top-heavy team. You've got 2-3 really, really good skaters, and then a lot of issues beneath that. Do you buy into that the well-rounded teams, the teams like Dallas, the teams like Florida, more suited to win that Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I mean, depth plays a huge part this time of the year. I mean, you're playing almost every other night most of the time. The games are way more physical, way more intense than a regular season game. So if you're not getting secondary scoring out of your guys, it's going to be tough sledding. And you look at Edmonton, I mean, outside of McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and Hyman, I mean, you go down that list, the rest of their roster is almost blank when it comes to point production throughout the postseason. So it's tough. You can do it if you have a hot goalie as well, which they've had inconsistency there. So it is tougher for them. You look at teams like Florida, they're loaded up and down the lineup. You got guys like Lundell on the third line who's contributing. I mean, Bobrovsky's great. Defensively, they're loaded on the back end. They're the favorite to me, and I don't really see anybody knocking them off unless they collapse bad.
Yeah, we've talked to other hockey experts, and we've asked them this question as far as trade acquisitions at the deadline. Chris Tanev, and we've had people say that has been the biggest when you look at Dallas's defense that gives them depth. They can rotate 5 guys in there and not think twice about it. Did you ever, I mean, he played there before you got to RIT. Did you get to know him at all?
Not really know him. I've met him a couple times. He came back and skated a couple times in the summer, and this was actually before I even went to RIT, and I was just skating there as well. But yeah, I mean, from an acquisition standpoint, he is the ultimate defenseman as a goalie that when he's on the ice, you're just like, thank God Chris is out here. Right? He's almost like your second line of defense. He's just a steady, puck-moving, stay-at-home defenseman who does so much. And he doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but his impact on the game, it's immense. You can't even compare it to anything else. What he does night in and night out is so great for that team. And he'll be a big reason why if they do advance, he'll be one of the key parts of that.
I want to go back to something I observed in Game 4 of the Rangers-Panthers series. And, the Panthers win that game. Rangers get a power play goal in that game, and they almost got 2 power play goals in that game. And the Rangers' power play in the regular season was ridiculous, as we all know. A little bit of a lull to start the postseason. But, man, really, really watching that power play work and move the puck, the job that Pekka has done with that Rangers power play. Mike, talk a little bit about, I'm curious about how practice goes when you're practicing that power play. Like, is Pekka over there screaming not fast enough? Because these guys move the puck with such speed and ease, it almost feels indefensible when they're clicking.
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak on their practices, but I mean, every level I've played in, that's a really key component to your offense, right? You're going to hone in on that. You're going to really drive it in. And when you are practicing, I mean, for instance, when I was at RIT, we would spend Wednesdays and Thursdays doing power play. And on Wednesdays, it was almost an hour full of power play. Because when you get those opportunities, that's really the chance you have to change the game, capitalize on that, get some momentum going. They've zipped it around very well, and I'm sure Pekka's on that where, you want to move the puck with intent. You want to make sure you're shooting it with intent. You get a lot of fans in the sport, right, that yell shoot from the stands. But
sure, yeah.
But there's really the lanes, the room for error is so little in that. So you got to find the right lanes. You got to get the puck moving around because when you do, it opens up holes. And yeah, I mean, they've had moments in the playoffs too where it's zipping around. They had one against Carolina that I remember vividly. That was tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
And really right now in this part of the postseason, it's every power play. You got the 4 best teams in the league. You got probably 4 of the best power plays in the league going. But their top guys have struggled as of this series, at least when you look at Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin. So that's, I think, their downfall right now because Igor's carrying them on their back.
Yeah, we're talking to Mike Rotolo here. Mike, you live in the area, the Sabres. It's so great to see Sam Reinhart having all the success, and there's Kyle Lapozo out there, and Montour played here. Where do you see Buffalo at right now? Lindy Ruff coming back here. Could they finally get over the hump and make to the postseason next year? What's your read on the Sabres?
Yeah, I mean, they got some work to do on the roster. I mean, they're a top-heavy team, and their top players, so to speak, underperformed this year, right? You had a bunch of overachievers last year, I thought, from a point production standpoint. Tage will have his points every year, whether it's 80 to 90, maybe gets to the 100. But the Cousins of the world, Tuck, those guys kind of overperformed last year, and they need some more secondary scoring. The goaltending shaped out towards the end of the year. UPL was phenomenal down the stretch. He was probably top 3 goalie in the NHL after Christmas. So that's a sign. And, Lindy has experience with the organization. I know people are hemming and hawing about them bringing him back home. But at the end of the day, he gets a lot out of his players. He knows the franchise. He's the winningest coach, I believe, in franchise history.
Oh, there's no doubt, yeah.
So, I mean, the NHL has a vicious cycle of recycling head coaches. So at the end of the day, whether it's somebody else or Lindy, the roster is the key thing, right? You got to get some more players there, get some secondary help, whether it's third, fourth line, and we'll see what happens next year. But I don't think they make the playoffs next year. I think they're a year or two away still.
If you're a Sabres fan, I think it's pretty easy to dwell on the past, and when you see Jack Eichel win a Stanley Cup last year, when you see Sam Reinhart on the precipice of winning one this year and scoring over 50 goals, I think it's easy for us to be like, well, see, they get out of Buffalo and they go and they succeed. How much do you buy into that? Or, Mike, is it really just about the supporting cast? Like, when Reinhart was in Buffalo, he wasn't scoring 50 goals because playing with Jack Eichel, he just wasn't getting those opportunities. With a guy like Barkov, who is, I mean, quietly, like, watching him play, I'm like, this guy is sensational. He's one of the best players in the league, plays both ways, and is just unselfish and makes others around him better, like Sam Reinhart. Is it the supporting cast, or is it just, well, they got out of Buffalo and that's all they needed to be able to flourish and do what they need to do?
Yeah, it could be a mix of both, but it is the supporting cast, right? You go there and you're surrounded by those, and you mentioned Barkov. If you watch him play, I mean, maybe outside of McDavid and McKinnon, he might be the third. He's up there. He's a top 3 player in the NHL. What he does, his impact in the game every time he's on the ice is incredible, and then so Sam gets a benefit from that. Now, you have contradicting styles maybe a little bit when Jack and Sam were playing together here. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down a lot to the structure of the team, right? How you want to play the game, play fast up and down the ice. And with all the turnover in Buffalo over the years, coaching change after coaching change, it's really hard to establish yourself when your lines are changing every single week. You know, you're playing with new line mates. So it's really hard to get that comfortability with your teammates. And I feel like that's kind of what happened and what run its course in Buffalo while they were here.
Mike Rotolo, our guest here, before we talk Yankees and get your thoughts here on the Eagles and everything else. Last time we saw each other, that was RIT. It was one of the best nights in school history. It really was, to win the conference championship on home ice, and then you go to the NCAA tournament, and you hung in there, okay? If you're RIT and you're playing Boston University, who has the number 1 overall pick, no shame in losing to the Terriers. Then what happens? Like, I'm looking at my phone on Easter Sunday, Mike, and top players leaving through the portal. So do you feel like you played in the wrong era? I guess I'll start there. Your thoughts on the portal, and number 2, how difficult is it going to be not just for RIT, but for any mid-major anywhere where you have talent? I'm not faulting any of the guys for finding a better opportunity. I'll just say that up front. They did what they thought was what was best for them.
Right. No, the portal is such a touchy conversation because from the player standpoint, yeah, if you have an opportunity to go to hockey, it's not called this, but a Power 5 school, let's say, right? One of the big conferences, the Big Ten, the Hockey East, the NCHC, you know, it's really enticing. And if you've put up good numbers and you put up good production and you have the opportunity to go there and compete on the top 2 line and then play at that level, you can't fault them for that. The only thing, that is upsetting is with the returning players they would have had if everybody came back. That's a true, and I'm not being a homer here, they were a true legit final Frozen Four contending team next year.
They're top 10 in the nation. And now it's like, oh my gosh, the mountain you got to climb over.
Yeah, and the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Listen, those players deserve the right to transfer. They earned it. They had incredible seasons. They led RIT to a championship again. And obviously, as a former Tiger, I wish them nothing but the best. I hope they succeed where they go next. Obviously, I wish it was still at RIT, but you can't really fault guys when you're going to North Dakota, Wisconsin, and Ohio State, like the 4 guys they had transfer.
Mike, if you were afforded those opportunities when you were playing at RIT, would you have considered that?
It's funny. I had this conversation with my dad, and I joked to him. So growing up, obviously, I was a huge RIT fan, but when I was a kid, I just loved North Dakota hockey. So I joked, and I said, if North Dakota called, it probably would have been the only school I would have considered leaving for. But also having the hometown ties, the coaching staff there with Wayne, Brian, and Dave, they always believed in me. So that's also the human factor of it is, wanting to stay loyal to the people who brought you in. And that's part of the issue with the portal. These big schools pass on players like Carter Wilkie, Cody Laskowski, Aiden Hansen-Buchetta, Tommy Scarfoni. But then they play well, RIT, they have a great program, great system. They help develop players. And then after a few years, they're reaching their potential, and now these other schools kind of cherry pick and take them from them.
Yeah, I mean, for you, what was that like playing in your hometown? Because I wish we had more guys like coming on up through, and we're going to see them here at RIT.
It was a dream come true. It was the coolest experience of my life. I'm so thankful for the opportunity. I grew up going to games with my dad, going to the Ritter. Obviously, an awesome, cozy, intimate environment when it was packed in there. So the opportunity, especially for me to play in my hometown and then to also play at both arenas was pretty special. My freshman year at the Ritter to close that out and then to open the Gene. It was really a dream come true from when I was a little kid, and to this day, I'm still proud to be a Tiger, and I always will be.
Tell me more about your affinity for North Dakota. That's what I grew up watching. I mean, the North Dakota college hockey was pro hockey for me because I grew up in Grand Forks, North Dakota. How'd you become a fan of the Sioux back then?
So growing up as a kid, truth of this is not so like the Eagles. The logo is what drew me in. Just the logo, I thought it was cool. North Dakota at the time was similar to like the Blackhawks. I always thought they had a cool logo. Drew me in. So before, when you're 7, 8 years old, my parents bought me a North Dakota jersey for Christmas one of those years. So I had it and used to wear it all the time to different hockey games. And that was really it. At that age, you don't really know players or the program itself. But I knew of North Dakota and how good of a program they were in college hockey. So that kind of started as my fanhood of another team.
Mike, the Yankees. I'm surprised that the starting pitching has held up the way, not even held up, excelled the way it has without Garrett Cole.
Yeah, on paper, it's the best rotation in baseball statistically. Rodon's just kind of broke the streak last night, the bullpen did with runners on, but they had 16 straight games of 6+ inning and 2 or fewer runs allowed. So pretty incredible stretch. Luis Gil has been just incredible.
Should start the All-Star game.
And if there's a couple other guys, but he's got to be in there for the AL Cy Young discussion currently, where we sit, a little over a third into the season right now. He has just been lights out. You got the addition of Stroman. He's just so in control a lot when he pitches. He's a ground ball pitcher. And Rodon, pleasant surprise. Couldn't stand him last year, but he's been very solid this year.
Well, he wasn't healthy. I remember him with the White Sox and the Giants. And sometimes when players get to New York, it doesn't work. And for him to step forward, but now that you're going to get Cole back, what is your expectation at the trade deadline? Because, and then, there's another angle we'll get to here in a second, but if this were George's team, he would be going out there and fortifying every position. I'm not sure the current Yankees do that.
Yeah, when it comes to the rotation itself, getting Cole back is huge. Obviously, they lost Clark Schmidt yesterday, so he's down for 4 to 6 weeks, which kind of stinks for the rotation as a whole. But with Cole coming back, it gives them a solid 5. I'd imagine Nestor goes to the bullpen once they go. They might do a couple runs through a 6-man rotation, but you can't really sustain that. You want guys to get into a rhythm. So when Cole's back, I think he goes there. They need more lefties in the bullpen too, which Nestor would help, and maybe that's also what they look at when it comes to the trade deadline is getting more lefties for the bullpen.
Project what do you think happens with Soto?
He's staying. He's staying in New York. Are you saying the rest of the year or next season?
No, next season.
Oh, I just don't see a way that Hale can let him walk after the impact he's had on the team. Him and Verdugo especially changed the entire culture. They brought a swagger from Verdugo's standpoint. He's got the little hand motion now, that dog mentality. They brought that to New York, and I said this to my dad, they haven't had somebody like that with energy, swagger since, Nick Swisher back in those World Series runs, and it kind of changed the whole lineup because Judge is stoic. He's a great leader, incredible player, but he's not going to give you that stare down, that super bat flip, to really hype up the crowd, and he brings that energy to the clubhouse.
I'm looking around in the American League now. The Guardians are kind of above, like they're doing really well, but Houston's kind of down and out. Baltimore is Baltimore. Mike, I don't want to jinx your team, but this
don't.
No, go ahead. If it's not the Yankees, then who this year?
I agree. So I saw, I think it was Fox Baseball posted if the playoffs started today, and I was looking at them man, who? I think Kansas City was in at this point, and I'm like, they couldn't beat New York in a series. Baltimore, really good team, but notoriously over the history of the last 10, 15 years, New York dominates them. Now, they're great. They're probably the only team that does worry me in a 5 or 7 game series when it comes to the playoffs currently. That could change. The Yankees could lose their next 15 games, and then we're not even talking about this. But right now, I don't see a way, if they stay healthy, how they aren't, the leader or the favorite to make it to the World Series out of the AL.
Mike, you got to have an unbelievable setup to be able to watch your Yankees, to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, to know what's going on all the time with all of these sports. You doing multiple screens, yeah?
Always multiple screens. So 2 years ago, I had my 65-inch, my main TV. The morning of week 1 of football, I want to say it was 2 years ago, I went to Walmart and bought a 55-inch flat screen. My wife came home 2 hours later and goes, "Whose TV is this?" And I was joking. I go, "Oh, it's my buddy's who was there at the time." She goes, "No, it's not." He's like, "You're right." And then I think a couple weeks later, I mounted it on the wall. And then I have a little office in my back room where those TVs are, and I got 2 monitors there. So if there's multiple sports going on, I'll go, Yankees on the main TV, a hockey game on the 55-inch, and then I'll put, basketball or the other hockey game on my monitor. So sometimes 4 screens going on
watching
all at
NBA
once.
Finals as well through all of this?
Oh, I love basketball too. I joke, and people have their vices, and I love sports. My wife kind of gets annoyed with how much I watch it, but I always joke with her and say, I could be doing drugs or worse things than watching sports.
It's a continuous
continuous negotiation is what we say. Yeah, continuous negotiation.
Mike, we know you're a Philly Eagle fan. Vic Fangio coming in to run the defense there, because that was the uncharacteristic thing with Philadelphia last year. Just too leaky on that defense. Does that fix everything, getting a new coordinator?
I don't know if it fixes everything. I know, Vic is a no BS guy. He's got his scheme, and I think they did a really good job addressing their needs in the draft. I mean, I think I'm biased, but I think they got the 2 best defensive backs in the draft in Kenyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. So we'll see where that goes there. And Cooper's a guy who can play, he can play nickel, outside, safety. So they have a lot of opportunity there in the back end. Linebacker still worries me a little bit. They brought in Devin White, who 3 years ago, if you told me they were bringing him in, I would have been jumping off my roof with excitement because he was so electric. Down year last year, but change of scenery can help guys at times, and he's still young. So we'll see. It's a long season. I'll tell you, I'm excited for football to get here, and I think anything short of a Super Bowl appearance or even a Super Bowl win is kind of a letdown to me for this team going into the season.
Well, I can say this as a guy who had him as a defensive coordinator at my team, Chicago. Sean Desai is not a very good defensive coordinator, and when you moved on from him, all you did was downgrade to Matt Patricia. So it can only get better with Vic Fangio as your defensive coordinator. I think that defense will respond for Philadelphia this year. Mike, it's great having you in the studio with us, man. Thanks for stopping by this afternoon.
Absolutely. Anytime. I love coming with you guys, so I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and then how many tickets are you putting in for in the lottery?
4 every year.
4.
They allow you 4? Is there a max?
You could do, I want to say it's 2, 3, or 4. You can put it. So I just click 4 every year in the hopes if I get 4, me and my dad, maybe both my brother-in-laws want to go, whoever, I don't care. But I just want to go one of these years before I pass.
All right, I'm gonna take the strategy putting in 2. If that maybe that's better. Maybe that will kind of I'd love to know their formula.
Who are you bringing with if you only have 2?
Oh, my old man.
You're bringing your old man, no question.
Yeah, no question.
The executive producer is going to be okay with that.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Who would you bring?
I got to bring my little one. She golfs.
Oh yeah, you'd have to.
That would be the experience, right? Got to take her if she's a golfer.
That would be the place. Like if you walk through, wow. This is it. I'm actually here, and you see the holes, and it looks all new. I mean, I can't imagine another place like that.
No.
You've watched how many years on television. There you actually are.
Yeah, you got to bring a camera too, like a legit one. So that would be something also to invest in because they don't let you bring your phones and they check everybody at the door. You're not allowed to bring your phone onto the course.
But you can bring a camera?
You can bring like a nice fancy camera, disposable camera, but you cannot bring your cell phone. No calls, that type of stuff.
I would hate to bring a disposable camera
to Augusta.
To Augusta.
Yeah, you have to go buy like a Nikon or something.
Right. I would think to myself like, okay, disposable camera. I think I'm taking good shots. I have no idea. And by the way, this thing is disposable. Could get wrecked without me even knowing it.
Do we even have like a 1-hour photo anywhere now?
Well, yeah.
Would you just mail that in? I don't even know.
That's a good question.
I think you go to like a drugstore, like a Walgreens. You have them printed up for you or something like that.
Yeah.
You have your photos printed up. Disposable camera. Jeez. No, you'd have to invest. You'd have to get a good camera.
You would. You would have to.
Well, it's good having you in here, man, and let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys. Thank you for having me.
Have a great weekend. There's Mike Rotolo. You remember him from RIT, Between the Pipes. Big sports guy. Love having him in here talking some sports in the sports bar. We've got a pivotal Game 5 tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we haven't even talked NBA Finals yet, Gino. I mean,
yeah, we have it set, Dallas and Boston.
Rotolo, is Luka the best player remaining in the NBA Finals?
Yes. Easy answer, yes, he is. I mean, he could just take over a game. I find that Tatum and Brown kind of fade at times in different games. One of them's going, one of them's not. I think they're going to have a little bit of a struggle with Dallas's size, and it's a Kyrie revenge series. Boston kind of hates him. Yeah, I think the narrative is pretty cool, and I think it's Probably the best matchup we could have gotten for the finals.
Yeah, it'll be a good one.
Yeah,
it'll
Kyrie stomping on the Celtic logo when he was in Brooklyn.
I don't think he's won since then, by the way. They've said that in Boston.
That'll be interesting. Appreciate the time, Mike. We'll come back with some takes on tap next. Jim Riley is going to stop by here at 4:25 as well. We'll talk some more MLB.
Yeah, as this new kickoff rule in the NFL, we're saying this. We don't talk enough about this. The idea that what Kansas City is rolling out, I actually think the Bills should adopt this.
I think it's smart. I think every team should look at what Kansas City's doing. I mean, they're the best team in the league for a reason. Could you stomach a Super Bowl being played overseas if you're an NFL fan? We'll get into that as well. We have some takes on the way. I'll drink to that. And time for your calls if you want to pull up a stool on the other side at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
WPTF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Buffalo Bills make a roster move. Guarantee you haven't heard him. Gable Steveson. He's an Olympic champion as a wrestler. The Bills are going to try him out at defensive tackle. Steve Tasker on the move.
Steveson is now going to try to join Bob Hayes as the only athlete in history to win a Super Bowl, as he hopes to do with the Buffalo Bills, and have an Olympic gold medal, which he already got.
In the corresponding move, the Bills releasing punter Matt Hawk. Rochester Red Wings are home tonight, continuing their series against St. Paul. Yankees and Giants playing out in San Francisco. Just one game in the majors, as at Wrigley, it's the Cubs up on the Reds, 3-2, as they are in the top of the sixth. NHL tonight, it is the pivotal Game 5 down in Dallas as the Stars take on the Edmonton Oilers. G. Taglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Definitely the case with OTA is definitely early in the offseason still. So not too much to take away, but obviously some things to talk about.
Mike Danger.
That's kind of how I look right now. I kind of look just like Jay Cutler. Like, really? I really don't care.
You don't care.
Oh, who cares?
Let's talk about the Mets here.
Gene Battaglia.
No, and we don't need to talk about the Mets. Yes.
You don't want to talk about the Mets?
Let's go Mets.
Darren Waller, yo. How about that?
Listening, it's a good skill to have.
Also, I don't want to watch Hard Knocks anymore. It sucks, but I'm going to watch it.
The Bears.
Touchdown! Touchdown Bears! And for the third time in Dallas Mavericks franchise history spanning 44 years, the Mavericks will play for the NBA championship. Winners of the Western Conference.
My name is Luca.
And the Panthers take Game 5 by a 3-2 final score. And the Panthers take a 3-2 lead in this Eastern Conference final.
The Stars and Oilers break their 2-2 tie in Dallas tonight.
Love you, Rochester.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
You're back in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia powering through a Friday afternoon, getting you to your sports weekend, and appreciating you listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app, and your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Don't forget, you can watch the sports bar. We love it if you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. We're streaming on Twitch as well. That site is twitch.tv/The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
And we've got takes here. We also are going to have a little baseball talk. Our buddy Jim Riley, Barreled Up Podcast, he will be joining us here at the bottom of the hour as we'll talk a little Yankees and everything to set you up for the weekend in baseball.
All right, very good. We got some Bills news to get to as well. We'll tell you a little bit more about Gable Steveson. But before we get to that, some other NFL news we're talking about here, some takes on tap.
Yeah, as we were saying, we're not talking enough about this new kickoff rule in the NFL. And the disclosure yesterday by the Chiefs special teams coach, which, sidebar, I wouldn't have mentioned this. I would have just tried to keep it quiet. But the Chiefs are mulling over the idea of having their safety, Justin Reed, do the kickoff itself. Couple of things, right? Well, number one, you don't want your kicker having to try to make the game-saving tackle. It doesn't go well too often. And number two, well, then that kicker could get hurt. So why not actually have somebody who could actually tackle? I think it's smart. Punting? Look, punting it's a hard deal, right? Handle the snap, rush coming at you, precision placement, place kicking, all that, and the mental part. But kickoffs? No, come on. Kickoffs are not that hard. High schools, come on. That's not relevant. Your defenders, they're already down there. High kickoffs, not relevant, okay? Defenders are already down there. I can't wait until Fisher here, Danger, till we actually see which Bills defenders are practicing the kickoff.
Oh, so you're already saying that the Bills are going to follow suit with the Chiefs are doing that. Every team in the NFL should do this.
I think every NFL team will at least consider this option because if you have true 11 on 11, if you beat that first wall, what's to say that like you're going to have who's handling the Bills? Get Tyler Bass? You really want Tyler Bass out there to bring on a touchdown?
You know, in the under the umbrella of player safety, and a peek behind the curtain, Gino and I were just talking about Section 5 football during the break. How long before they adopt this rule at the high school level, at the college level? I mean, if it's about player safety, you're saying that the professionals we have to keep the professionals safe, but the kids that play, we don't care about them. We want them running at full speed, and we want this dangerous play to continue at the high school and college level.
5 years?
5 years?
Yeah. Yeah, because people will see this, and they'll nod, and they'll have the stats that things are safer.
Yeah, it'll take a second for our eyes to adjust to what this looks like in the NFL, but I don't think they're going back. I think that once they accomplish this for a season, I don't even know if it'll take 5. I'd say within 3.
Wow.
I mean, if indeed it doesn't affect the game or it makes the game more exciting and it keeps the players safe, it's a win-win. Why wouldn't you apply that to high school immediately? Why wouldn't you apply that to college immediately? I mean, the XFL, the revolutionary XFL, giving us a play that we didn't even know that we needed with a safer, more entertaining kickoff. How about that?
Sean McDermott on the rules committee. Putting his stamp on the history of football.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're just, the Bills are just revolutionary in their own right. I mean, look, Kansas City's talking about having Justin Reed do their kickoffs, which everybody's like, well, you don't have a kicker doing your kickoffs? Well, the Bills hired a officiating liaison. They've got not one but 2 players who've never played the game on their roster now. I mean, this Buffalo Bills team, progressive. It's a progressive team. Hey, the mayor of London has made it clear they'd love to host a Super Bowl. What mayor wouldn't want the Super Bowl to come to their town?
I guess that's a full stop, right? Like, of course we would love that in campaigning. But,
well, Pro Football Talk posted a poll just trying to gauge the interest of fans, whether or not they would want to have a Super Bowl in the UK. Yet no one wants it. The less than 10% of the vote loves this idea. So guess what's going to happen? Get ready for a London Super Bowl, mate. Don't get your knickers in a twist. We have some tea. We have some crumpets. It's not like you have a choice. At this point, going to a Super Bowl is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity if you're lucky. It's not like you're going to the big game stateside, even if your team is playing. Can you afford it? What are you going to do if it happens? If it does go overseas? If the NFL decides to play its biggest game of the year in London, are you going to boycott? You're not going to watch? Just follow the dollars. This is going to happen, and if you don't like it, it's too bad.
Well, there's only one downside, and you're absolutely right. Anybody that says, I'm upset, have you ever been to a Super Bowl where you're planning on a Super Bowl? It's irrelevant to most of us. You're not going to Miami, New Orleans, Los Angeles. What does it even matter if the game's in London? It matters because it's going to be on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the only thing, Danger. And I'm sure that people will still watch, but I think you'll get just enough of a ding against the ratings that it could be down. 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific. People do go to church on Sundays.
Ratings being down right now for the NFL feels to me like it doesn't even matter.
10 o'clock Pacific for the Super Bowl? It doesn't feel right. So that's kind of the big hurdle. If there's enough money to be made, they'll take the ding on that.
We're the NFL. We can control time.
Also, this is before you realize the first Super Bowls, they would play on a Sunday afternoon, just like every other game. Waiting patiently to weigh in on this. Our buddy Connor on State Street. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Connor.
What's up, fellas? How you doing today?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm glad to hear it. Enjoying one of our 12 good days of Rochester.
Attaboy.
Yeah, you know it. Hey, I hate this idea. I think it's terrible. Let me tell you why. Because you're going to get to the stadium, right? And nobody really cares about football in London. So you're going to have 3/4 of the stadium and soccer jerseys and cricket jerseys. They're not going to know when to cheer. It's going to be a confusing game. And on top of that, you boys ever been to Paris?
I have.
It stinks. It smells terrible. If we want to play somewhere that stinks, let's just take it back to MetLife.
Okay.
Connor, appreciate the call.
Connor.
Here's the thing. To Connor's first point. The majority of the people at a Super Bowl right now don't really care about football. I hate to break it to you. You romanticize this notion that super fans are at the Super Bowl. And yeah, there are fans of the teams at the game, but they're not real fans. They're not the fans that have season tickets, that can't afford to go to the Super Bowl because they've priced themselves out of it. It's a lot of corporate deals. It's a lot of corporate sponsorships. It's a lot of friends and family.
That's why I will dig my heels in and just say never, never, never do this with the AFC and the NFC championship game. When we had this story 2 years ago, if it was going to be Bills Chiefs, hey, we can't figure out anything. We're going to put this game down in Atlanta.
Neutral site.
Right. And I'm like, oh no, this is the beginning of that. Like we're going to have and I'm surprised we haven't revisited that. Hopefully nobody's listening like, we should revisit that idea.
Yeah.
We can make a lot of money off that idea. Connor, like, nobody cares at a Super Bowl right now. Like, and also, did you ever go to a Bills game up in Toronto? I did. I went to every single one of them. It felt like you were going to a Super Bowl. People just kind of politely applauding and not really, and no energy there. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I view any. Sure, you get a few fans that love it and will pay any dollar to see their favorite team, and you just get people that, hey, this is the cool thing. I'm going to fly in on my jet, or I won this contest and I'm going to be there. They really don't care.
I went to the Super Bowl when the Bears and the Colts played in Miami, and look, there were fans there. No question about it. I was a fan. The kid sitting next to me was a Colts fan. There were other Bear fans there. We were all freaking out and high-fiving each other at the beginning of the game when Devin Hester ran back the touchdown. So I'm not saying that there aren't fans at the Super Bowl. There are. But I'm saying the majority of the people that are at the Super Bowl are family members of players, corporate sponsors, celebrities. I mean, like it's a who's who of influencers and people that know people, and it's an event to be seen at now more than it is an event to be a fan at.
Yeah, I wonder too, there is a political question too. Like, would this become an issue? Like, wait a second, this is our thing. We're subsidizing all these stadiums. You're going to export the Super Bowl. Does the NFL do they want to test it? You're laughing like it's not an issue.
No, I'm laughing because I just think the NFL is going to do whatever the hell they want and try and stop us. I just think that's where they are. And again, what are you going to do? You're going to not watch the game? You're not going to support the Super Bowl if it's overseas? If they play it in London, you're not going to watch? If it's at 10 a.m. and you're in L.A., you're not going to watch? Okay, fine. The ratings are down because it was at 10 a.m. We're the NFL. We own the ratings. The ratings are every game this season rates better than anything else on TV. So what do we care? They're down a little bit. Oh, boo-hoo. We'll just get a streamer to pay, millions and millions. Oh, we'll make it a pay-per-view event where we don't have to worry about ratings. We have to worry about subscribers. That's it. That's where their head is at.
How many years do you think this would be, though? Are we talking like 5 years, 10 years
before it happens?
Yeah, because in that it's inevitable. I think it's inevitable that the Super Bowl will be overseas. London would probably be the odds-on favorite.
I'll say, I mean, this, 10. 10 feels about right.
Yeah.
10 years feels about right. Within 10 years.
Because by that point, you get to the 18th game. Every team is playing overseas once a year anyways.
You would imagine. Yeah. Yeah, I think within 10 years. I was going to go wider and say in our lifetime, we'll see this. But I think that is a given.
I think in our lifetime, we will have a European division.
20 game season. Mm-hmm. 20 game season, European division. They are an unstoppable force, and they're a global brand, and they will, if there is money to be made, they will make it. And if it means playing your biggest game of the year in London and us having to deal with the time change, so be it. The NFL will plow right through it. Nobody wants the Super Bowl in London. The NFL doesn't care. The NFL does not care. They will sell tickets. They will fill a state. Wembley will be full, and they will crush.
I would say this. This is the part of the equation we don't know, because how do teams get the Super Bowl to begin with? It's the Visitor and Convention Bureau, and the NFL doesn't have to pay for a damn thing. They don't have to pay for a damn thing. And you want it, just like how, hey, if we want a PGA championship in Rochester, guess what? They have to put together a bid and hotel rooms and everything else. So do they do that in London? I don't know. I understand, like, from, hey, you want to grow the game, you want to grow the sport, you want to sell more of everything over there, but, like, is there, like, a London convention bureau there that will pony up a lot of dollars?
Yeah, I think there probably is. Within 10 years. We'll put it that way. Before we get to Jim Riley, barreled up in the Odyssey app, the podcast, the Major League Baseball podcast, the Bills did make a move today. And we're laughing about it because you said at the very top of the show, Gino, that if the Sports Bar wrote onion articles on the Buffalo Bills, you would think that this is an onion article. The Bills, we it's an ongoing meme that Sean McDermott has a thing for wrestlers, loves wrestlers, wrestler himself. Well, why not sign the world's best wrestler, which is what the Bills did today in signing 2020 Olympic gold medalist wrestler Gable Steveson. Gable Steveson, who for the first time in his life, working out for the Bills earlier, wore cleats. He's never played football. And they'll probably find a place for him on the defensive line.
He's on the practice squad, isn't he?
At best. At best, he's a practice squad player. His history, University of Minnesota, he won gold in Tokyo in 2020. National titles at the University of Minnesota in wrestling as a heavyweight 2021, 2022. He was signed to the WWE as well for several years. They just released him from his contract earlier this month. Now, if you believe the agency that represents Steveson, there were other teams that were interested in signing him as well. I don't believe that. I would rather hear that from a source other than the agent who's pumping his tires. So Steveson signs his 3-year standard rookie deal as an undrafted free agent, and we'll see a 2020 Olympic gold medalist at training camp this summer.
Are the Bills that much smarter than anybody else? I thought bringing in an ex-official who was a rules analyst on ESPN and John Perry, and for a weakness of Sean McDermott, and by weakness they say just look at the record when it comes to challenges. Okay, it was okay last year, but overall, why not try to get better? That to me is smart.
That's my favorite move that this team has made this offseason. I'm not even joking. My favorite move made by the Buffalo Bills is bringing in John Perry to be your officiating liaison. Every other move is underneath the Perry move, in my opinion.
Not keeping Babbage on the staff and elevating the defensive coordinator? No.
My favorite move is the John Perry move. Everything else, I'm not really high on any of the moves that they've made.
Not trading with Kansas City in the draft?
No, not at all. Not bringing in MVS, not bringing in Chase Claypool.
Not cutting your starting center?
No. My favorite move is the John Perry move. That's the best move they've made this offseason. Everything else is underneath that.
Yeah,
Everything else ranks below.
I would say like that's smart. Low risk. I mean, it's not. We won't even think about it. But if the Bills win a challenge, you always wonder, I wonder if that was Perry in the headset. Why aren't other teams drafting rugby players and signing street free agent wrestlers, Olympic champion wrestlers, mind you? But what are we doing? They don't have any time to teach players. Who is responsible?
I mean, is not Aaron Cromer, I'm sorry, he's offensive line. I was going to say, you're going to spend time teaching these guys. Aaron Cromer's got to teach the rugby player that they drafted in the 7th round. Like, if Aaron Cromer is giving up time with that guy when it could be spent making, Connor McGovern a better center, then I feel like that's a miss. But Gable Steveson on the defensive line, we'll get a taste of what he can do this preseason, I suppose.
Marcus West is the new defensive line coach. Is he rolling his eyes at this idea?
Well, I just think so let's say you're Marcus West and you're tasked with coaching a defensive line that, still has room for improvement. Von Miller isn't what he once was. Greg Rousseau needs you want more out of Greg Rousseau. I think you want more out of Ed Oliver. He had his best year last year, but can he be better still this upcoming year?
Where was Ed Oliver in the AFC divisional round game against the Chiefs where Chris Jones you saw?
Yeah. So I guess the point is that if you're spending time working with a player who's never played football rather than trying to make these guys better, that feels like wasted calories. And then there's this, and this is the thing that you won't find in the press release or any of Schefter's tweets about this signing by the Buffalo Bills. Back in 2019, before he won his gold medal, Steveson was accused of criminal sexual conduct. Now, he didn't face criminal charges in part because in Minnesota there's a law which had said at the time that a person couldn't be charged for rape or sexual assault if the victim was willingly intoxicated. They've since
what?
Yeah, they've since changed that law in Minnesota. In 2021, they changed that law.
From the 1700s? What are we doing?
You can't charge somebody for rape if the victim was willingly intoxicated.
That seems like a really, really bad loophole. I'm glad they eliminated
They
there.
did.
I'm just Adam Schefter's piece that he put up on ESPN does not include that detail.
Shocking. So there's a good chance that this guy's a bad guy too. Great. Fantastic.
But
love the move.
Because he was cleared and there's nothing to see here that's not a topic.
Right.
But you couldn't wait for due process and use the commissioner's exempt list with another punter.
Oh, yeah, the punt god. That's right. It sounds kind of similar, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not completely apples to apples, but
no, of course not. But it's hey, he's an Olympic champion, though. You know, we got to bring him in. You know?
Right. Well, I'm not going to say anything else because there's a very good chance when we're at training camp. Hey, today you guys are talking to you're talking to the gold medalist today. Oh, really? We get to talk to Steveson? Okay, great.
Does he bring his gold medal into the locker room? Does he?
You show that off. Do you think McDermott uses him as a prop? Guys, let me tell you, this is what it takes to reach the top of the mountain.
Yes, and if we're still doing this, I don't know if McDermott's going to do this, but this was always a big thing where he has newcomers get up and tell their story, and they do like a little PowerPoint. Here's, they tell about the family. It makes sense for team bonding. I want to care about this fellow man. He's going up there the first one, right?
Give a presentation on what it took for you to be a gold medalist in your craft. How did it feel to get to the top of that mountain as an Olympic gold medalist, as a heavyweight wrestler? Talk about the work, the sweat, the discipline. Yeah, he's going to use him as a prop behind closed doors. So you sign him. Hey, maybe he's a practice squad guy. That's fine. You need 90, right? You need 91 in this case with the international.
You need 90, but there's other guys out there that have actually played the game.
Yeah.
This guy is not helping you in 2024.
No.
The Bills should still be in win-now mode. I'm sorry. It's not a team like the Sabres we're going to develop forever and ever and ever. No! Who can help us win games now?
Yeah, I just get the sense that there's more at play with how they've managed and built this roster this year. It feels as if the Bills are pinching pennies. And I know every team plays by the salary cap rules and the cap is real. But
we don't know. Was he offered a signing bonus or just here's a job? Like that I don't
I'm sure he comes at less money than you would pay a veteran guy who's still a free agent right now, right? No question. So it doesn't really count against your cap anyways. It's just a matter of who do you want to sign.
And then, the counter argument here too, to make room, Matt Hawk was released. Okay. Whoopee. Like, do you really need two punters at camp? Like, if you don't like the one, cut him and get somebody else.
I think you do. I think you had three, and now you have two. You have Jack Browning and Sam Martin.
Oh.
So, yeah.
I forgot about Jack Browning.
Yeah, you didn't need three. So, Hawk, we barely knew ye. But we'll look for that punter competition between Sam Martin and Jack Browning at St. John Fisher as well. We're going to shift gears and talk some Major League Baseball next. He is the host of the Barreled Up podcast. You can hear it in the free-to-download Odyssey app. He also has his Ballcap Sports YouTube channel that is worth checking out if you're a baseball fan, and some ties to the 585. We love our conversations with our buddy Jim Riley. He joins us next to talk baseball in the Sports Bar.
Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills make a roster move on a Friday afternoon. Gable Steveson, he's an Olympic champion in wrestling. He's never played football. The Bills will try him out at defensive tackle. Chris Trapasso on the move.
So I think we're talking up the field pass rusher, speed, leverage, handwork. I mean, you're not going to have any concerns with how he uses his hands to win the leverage battle, because that's obviously how you win a gold medal.
Trapasso heard today on One Bills Live, 1 to 3 weekdays here on The Fan. Punter Matt Hawk and the corresponding move released by the team. Rochester Red Wings home tonight once again against St. Paul. Yankees and Giants in San Francisco, highlighting the schedule in the majors. There's just one game right now. The Reds gone ahead of the Cubs 4-3 there in the 7th. We'll talk some baseball coming up next with Jim Riley from the Barreled Up podcast. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Carlos Mendoza said that he understands the emotion, but that particular action of throwing your glove into the stands was unacceptable. Looking back on it, do you regret doing that?
No. I don't regret it. I think I've been looking the worst teammate probably in the whole MLB. So, whatever happened. So, whatever they want to do it. I'll be tomorrow here if they want me, whatever they want to do. So, I'm going to keep doing this thing, So, I'm healthy on whatever, on whatever to do. I'm ready to come back tomorrow, and if they want me to be here, so I'll be here.
I want to pile on, Gino, and this might be the biggest debate that we've had since Yanni Laurel, as we welcome in Jim Riley, the Barreled Up podcast. Lopez saying he's on a bad team or a bad teammate. Jim, I'm sure you've analyzed the audio like we all have. What's your take?
I am pretty confident at this point that he was saying he's a bad teammate. And it was very interesting in the moment when it was all, the firestorm was raging out of control the other night, because there were Mets media people asking him to confirm, to clarify. And he said he meant a little bit of both, bad team on a bad teammate on a bad team. And it wasn't until the next day that there was, I think, an official statement that came out from him. Saying that, you're trying to explain that obviously English is not his first language, and maybe he was confused. But at the end of the day, like, the real problem here is chucking your glove into the crowd, being upset about, a call that was, in my opinion, correct on the field, and getting that upset and getting thrown out. And it comes down to, I don't know if he wanted to be there at the end of the day anyway. It seems like things are just unraveling there in Queens.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's been a heck of a week. As the Mets today, Christian Stott, he's the hope. He got sent down to Syracuse. Now, maybe that was, they just didn't have a spot on the, but Brett Beatty, that was supposed to be your third baseman in the future. He's back in Syracuse too. How did the Mets go from this team, Jim, that won 100 games, everybody feeling really good, feeling this could be a team, and you're playing Timmy Trumpet, everything's so exciting now. Once again, being the joke here in Major League Baseball, how did this happen?
Well, part of it is certainly young players like Brett Beatty that were supposed to be a part of the next wave that just have not found their bearings at the Major League level. Beatty has really struggled. They've been going through this for years now with Brett Beatty. Didn't click last year. It's not happening this year. Vientos has been up and down. They're obviously not sold on what he can bring in an everyday role. There's just been some struggles in terms of that young talent. Mauricio, again, part of that next wave, and he's hurt right now. Alvarez has spent a ton of time hurt. So you factor that in, and you've also got the veterans that they signed, the aging veterans. It just didn't work out, right? Didn't work out with Verlander and Scherzer. There was time injured, and they ended up moving on from them. So some poor free agent decisions. But really, when the young players that are supposed to be a part of the core of the next wave, when they're not clicking and they don't play like you project them to play, it can certainly hurt and set you back a couple of years, and feels like that's part of what's going on. And also, by the way, the best pitcher on the team hasn't thrown a single pitch yet, and Kodai Senga. So that's certainly not helping either. His injury and him being out for this long is adding to the agony that they're feeling.
Jim, there's certainly a lot of baseball left to be played this season, but when you look at what the Yankees are doing in the American League, it's kind of like you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, well, if it's not the Yankees in the American League this year, then who is it?
That's a good question. I mean, I would tend to lean towards probably Baltimore. The other, in the division there, I don't want to take anything away from Cleveland and Kansas City, because what they have been doing in the Central, I'm very impressed by it. I think Kansas City, between now and the trade deadline, will need to add probably 2 bats, in my opinion. Their lineup is very top heavy right now, and even then, you add 2 bats, you're going to hope that the guys that are there stay healthy, and some other guys step up. So Casey has some work to do. Cleveland's a pretty good team all around. Maybe right behind the Yankees, it would be Baltimore and Cleveland, and because Baltimore's dealing with some pitching injuries in their rotation right now, and they're dealing with some back of the bullpen issues as well. Cleveland feels pretty well rounded right now. Their closer, Clase, is lights out. The rotation is doing some very good things. They're hitting with the best of them right now. So really, the toast of the American League, it's the Yankees, the Orioles, Cleveland, and KC is not too far behind.
What did you make of Hal Steinbrenner's comments about the payroll recently, and now Boris kind of laying the groundwork? Jim, my reading is I don't think anything happens with Soto. We're not going through. You couldn't. He's on the team this year. But are the Yankees actually going to pony up, or are we heading down another Aaron Judge kind of, all right, I'm either going to take the money from the Yankees or somewhere else? How do you see this Juan Soto story all kind of playing out?
I feel like the Steinbrenner issue is just public posturing. He's already started the negotiation process with Scott Boras. He's doing it in the public spotlight. What's interesting is I was having this conversation the other day on the podcast with Ernie Acosta, who joined me, and we were digging into the element of you go bring a player on board, you either trade for him or sign him, even though it's maybe 1 year. You have him for that year, and you sell him in person on what it's like to be a member of that team, a member of that clubhouse. You have Juan Soto playing with Aaron Judge, and Juan Soto falls in love with his teammates and the city and the pinstripes. But what I also think has happened, and this is why I think the Yankees, the more I think about it, the more in my mind, I believe they would be the favorite to bring him back. What's also happened is the Yankees have gotten a taste of Juan Soto. So Soto has gotten a taste of pinstripes and what it's like to be at 39-19. They're at the top of the mountain in the American League right now. He's got a taste of what that feels like in the Bronx and with that team, but also the Yankees have gotten a taste of what it's like to have Juan Soto on your team. This is the most exciting season the Yankees have put forth in many years, and Juan Soto's there doing amazing things. Arguably, Juan Soto's the best player in baseball this year, and are they going to want to let that go? So any sort of ceiling that I thought might exist when it comes to re-signing him, I think is gone. I think Steinbrenner, I think Cashman, they will do whatever it takes, even if Steve Cohen is around the corner offering more. I think that Steinbrenner and Cashman are like, we can't let this guy go. This guy, look at this past season, look at the seasons prior, and yeah, we had great pitching this year, but everything came alive, and let's just not mess with success. Let's bring him back. I think there's a very good chance he's back with the Yankees long term.
Jim, in the National League, I think Philly fans are realistic. Like, they're enjoying how well the team has played so far this year, but they know that it's probably not sustainable, and nothing matters unless you win the World Series. And I wonder what your thoughts are on the National League as a whole, because you have a team like the Dodgers who are in first place, but we're not talking about the Dodgers as much as we're talking about the Phillies at this time of the season, just because of how great the Phillies have been up to this point.
The Phillies are doing like almost everything right at this point. I mean, the pitching, the hitting. There's so much. And, oh, by the way, while they're doing all this, they're not at full strength. They're not at 100%. Trey Turner, a superstar in this league, is not there right now, and he has not been there for several weeks. And they have continued to just mow teams down. Now, they came across the San Francisco Giants over the last couple of days, and the Giants are hot, so the Giants sort of put an end to the dominant ways that the Phillies had sort of been on there. And then also, I don't want to forget the Rockies. The Rockies are just a pain in the butt. The Rockies took the series against the Phillies over the weekend, but the Rockies are surprised. They'll surprise you in a series. But to your point, this I think the fan base would love to have a fun and exciting season. Try to wrap up a 1 seed or 2 seed to get out of those first round games in the postseason and make the path a little bit easier. That's really all you're looking to do if you're the Phillies is keep this 1 seed, keep the lead on the division. And with the way the Braves are playing right now and some of the struggles they're dealing with their bats and the question marks, the injuries, the Phillies are in a good spot, like 6.5 games up on the Braves. Keep it going, even if it's against sub-500 teams. Pad that lead as much as you can because Atlanta's going to get hot at some point. You want to have a big enough lead to absorb that so you can, again, hold on to that 1 or that 2 seed. The Dodgers are going to get a bye. I'm confident in saying that. I don't think Milwaukee or anyone in the Central is going to get hot enough to finish with a better record than the Dodgers, and I don't think the Giants or Padres are going to surpass the Dodgers in the division. So the Dodgers are going to have a bye. If ultimately you're going to go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers, I think you need to follow whatever path they are taking and get that bye, and that's all this regular season is going to be about for Philly, is finishing at the top of the division so you don't have to play in the first round.
Yeah, maybe they do get Atlanta, and kind of we enjoyed the topic earlier here. If you were going to have 4 first-round picks, let's say. We're just kind of doing a draft, or you're going to do seedings, players in baseball today, and you have Shohei Ohtani, must-watch television. Ellie De La Cruz, must-watch television when he's on the base pass.
This was your topic, Jim.
Yeah. Skeens, fantastic. Yeah. And then Danger and I debating, all right, who would be that 4th guy? I'm like, hey, it's still Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge at the plate, you're not flipping off that. Danger's like, what about Acuna? I'm like, he's really good too. All right, First of all, your thoughts on the topic there. Did we identify the 2 guys at the time? And now, unfortunately, where does this kind of leave Atlanta? Although Atlanta 2 years ago, when this happened, they were 500 the All-Star break, and they ended up winning the whole darn thing there, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, can't count Alex Anthopoulos out. But to get back to the must-watch, the must-see TV 4th spot, it's tough because there's Judge, there's Soto. I would argue Bobby Witt Jr. is excelling to that point. Gunnar Henderson with the Orioles is bringing himself to that point. There's really no wrong answer for that 4th and final spot. There are some amazing, and those are just hitters. There are some wonderful pitchers that take the mound that are must-watch TV. But as far as the Braves go, Alex Anthopoulos is probably one of the 3 or 4 or 5 GMs that I would trust to navigate through this period for the Atlanta Braves. He's going to take this time and identify what do we need between now and the trade deadline or at the trade deadline, because the goal is still to win the World Series. Spencer Strider is done. Ronald Acuna Jr. is done. Those are 2 massive blows. That would be like the Dodgers losing Mookie Betts and Tyler Glass now. Okay, if you took those 2 off, the Dodgers would be like, oh, my God, what are we going to do? It's what the Braves are dealing with right now. And Alex Anthopoulos is one of the best general managers at sort of solving the player personnel roster issues. And I'm pretty sure, I'm confident he's got something up his sleeve that he's going to work on. And when you think about this with Ronald, when you're thinking about trade pieces, because we're going to be getting into trade deadline season here very soon, and Acuna's injury, the timing of it, is interesting because it's probably not only going to impact 2024, it's probably also going to impact 2025. So when he's trading for players, he's probably going to be looking for guys that are under control for 2025 as well. And that sort of changes the landscape of the conversation around the trade deadline market, who's available. They may snag some pieces or a player that he's not at this moment or even leading up to the deadline identified as trade bait because Alex Anthopoulos is working his magic.
Jim, we mentioned him as one of the must-see guys in Major League Baseball right now, and Paul Skeens. I said this with my tongue in cheek a couple of weeks ago. The Pirates should just go ahead and trade him now. His value is never going to be higher, and we know he's not going to stay in Pittsburgh long term. Project out how this career could look for Paul Skeens, knowing what we know and what we've seen of him so far early on here in Pittsburgh.
Here's what I would love the Pirates to do. You know this guy is a star. You know he is transcendent. We have not seen an arrival like this. A lot of people sort of went back to the Steven Strasburg debut, and yes, that was good, and that's a cautionary tale because we saw how much Strasburg dealt with injuries throughout his career. I would anticipate that the Pittsburgh Pirates medical staff and scouting department and everybody has a handle on, is this guy a durable guy? Is everything about his mechanics, is everything about his history, is he durable? Because if he is, they need to give him that contract that buys out the pre-arbitration. The arbitration goes into a couple of those free agent years to almost alert out to Major League Baseball and to their fan base. While Paul, our window is starting to open because Paul Skeens is a phenomenal talent, and you've got to make sure that you send the message to your fan base and to the rest of baseball that we're serious. Lock him up. They have been a little hesitant to do those kinds of deals. It took them forever to get the Brian Reynolds deal done. They did lock Mitch Keller up, but Mitch Keller was getting closer to Mitch Keller's service time was higher, closer to the end of his arbitration years. I would love to see them lock up Paul Skeens because with him, the aforementioned Mitch Keller, and Jared Jones as well. Jared Jones cannot be forgotten. They've got 3 top of the rotation guys, and that's what you need to win. You need excellent pitching, and they've got that. The young talent they have with the bats, Pittsburgh is going to be an interesting team, very interesting team, starting next year, maybe even this year, but certainly starting next year. And I would just go ahead and lock them up. I don't want to trade them. I want to lock them up and tell the rest of baseball that we're back and Paul Skeens isn't going anywhere.
We're talking to Jim Riley, the Barreled Up podcast, and when we're talking about prospects in baseball, Jim, we've had a front row seat here in Rochester, and I'm trying to think of the last time we had a prospect like this, and I would say maybe it was Francisco Liriano because when he was coming up, he was so electric. Now his career kind of went down after that. But talking about James Wood, and unfortunately he's got this hamstring injury, and that's gonna. But Danger are just like wondering, like, why isn't this guy up in Washington at this point?
I think they want to make sure that he gets as many reps as he can. So last year he split between A and AA, so he's getting his first taste of this high level, and he is dominating. For anybody that needs the rundown, we got an OPS over 1,000. We got a ton of home runs. He is a highlight film guy. I watched the MILB recaps. They do like on MLB.com, they do like a 9-minute recap of the top prospects and what they did the night before. And there was a stretch there where every single day it was James Wood did this. It was never ending. He's a phenomenal talent. I think what we're thinking about with the Nats is they're trying to make sure they get their timing right, and they don't want to start his arbitration clock too soon because they've got a lot of talent coming. And I think if they're calculated with their approach, and some could say that this is wrong. If he's ready, bring him up. But if they're calculated, you could have a spot where you got James Wood, you got Dylan Cruz. I mean, you've got these guys all coming up at the same time. Could be such an infusion of talent that could take the Nats to that contender status very quickly. And you're right. What you have there, and I hope he gets back soon, is something exciting, and I know everybody at the major league level is just salivating and can't wait for James Wood to arrive here in the bigs.
Jim, last year at this time, I don't know that anybody was predicting a a Texas-Arizona World Series, and I know the postseason can throw a lot of curveballs at people, pun intended. Are there teams that you're looking at right now at this stage that you're like, yeah, these are teams that could surprise people should they get into the postseason? Do you have teams that right now might be kind of bubbling underneath the surface that could surprise us come October?
That's an interesting question. I feel like we are kind of at a point where most of these teams, we know what they are. The Yankees, the Orioles, they're going to be there. The Guardians and the Royals, they're going to be there. Again, that maybe a central team, if you're not paying attention and you sort of just been going off the way baseball's been the last couple of years, where there's some juggernauts in the East, there's some juggernauts in the West, definitely pay attention to the Central, especially with the way that Kansas City and Cleveland are pitching. And I'm not even bringing up Minnesota. Minnesota is in the conversation as well. But the pitching that we're seeing out of those Central teams is phenomenal. So I would pay attention there in the American League. And then in the National League, the San Diego Padres are, I think, if you get them in a short series, I think they're a nightmare to face. I think the San Diego Padres would be difficult. And there's just something about a Darvish and Cease and Musgrove, 1, 2, 3. I just feel like the Padres have a ton of talent and they have the pitching. The Giants could be there. We got to see. Blake Snell's got to wake up. Blake Snell's got to get his thing together. Robbie Ray's got to get back because the Giants could be that team. But I think a lot of people want to dismiss the Padres because of last year. So I think that if they can get in, they're dangerous in a short series. And those Central teams in the American League. And don't sleep on the Brewers. The Brewers are first place in the National League Central. Nobody expected them to be there. They're a good team, too. Those Central teams are really worth watching this year.
What last one for me, and I think we always, whenever we have you on, we want to talk about this whole state of the A's franchise. And at least on the field, they're not bad. We know they're going to kind of Sacramento, but this storyline that from the LA Times that they have to raise $500 million in capital just to get the stadium. But Jim, is this actually going to happen, or are we going to have the Sacramento A's 5 years from now?
So I think that's a great question. I don't know. It's such a mess that the problem is that this off the field circus is taking away from what they're building there, and what they're building is actually kind of interesting. And what becomes a problem is if they are in Sacramento, if they're stuck in Sacramento, what kind of revenue are they able to generate to support a team, right? To support and throw back at a team. I mean, they're already stingy with the dollars that they spend, but I've been watching Oakland, and I believe in my heart of hearts that in the 2026 and 2027 season, the Oakland Athletics are going to compete for the American League West. The young talent that they have, it's almost the entire lineup. It's so many key contributors that they will all still be under control. They will be maturing. They will be peaking in a couple of years, and it's going to be a great time for the Athletics to make a push. The question is, you still need to support that with, some veteran talent. And if they have not making any money because they're in Sacramento, it's too bad that the whole thing is disappointing, but it is going to, it very well could impact the state of this team and their ability to compete seriously in a couple of seasons, because they won't be able to support the young guys that are coming up and reaching their peak levels, because they won't have any money to spend on free agents because they're stuck in Sacramento. It's really, really aggravating. I feel terrible for Athletics fans. I'm glad I'm not one of them. It's bad.
Jim, let everybody know about Ballcap Sports on YouTube, and of course the Barreled Up podcast that you're giving us in the Odyssey app as well.
Yeah, check it out. Ballcap Sports on YouTube, live streams, 3 times a week, usually Monday, Thursday, and Sunday nights. Diving into a lot of trade talk as we're getting into trade rumor season, and the podcast is firing on all cylinders. Some great conversations, some great guests. We had a couple of episodes this week talking about everything going on in real time around Major League Baseball with my my co-host Robbie Hyde, who's also got a strong following on YouTube. He and I have teamed up for that, and it's just going great. Good conversations are happening over there. Make sure everyone subscribes to the Barreled Up Pod.
Jim, appreciate it, and go check that out, everyone. Jim, thanks for your time today, bud.
Thanks, guys. Talk soon.
Got it. Jim Riley. A little 585 connection there. Our buddy Jim Riley spent some time in Rochester's in the Baltimore area now and doing great work at Ball Cap Sports on YouTube and the Barreled Up podcast and the free-to-download Odyssey app. Nice to talk some baseball today.
It's kind of a downer, though. Like, if you already know, it's going to be the Phillies getting a bye and the Dodgers getting a bye, and then what? Like, the National League kind of feels...
I like what he said about the Padres, though. Like, if you get the Padres in a short series, they could be one of those teams. So if we're just saying it's an inevitability, right? Like, because of the way the postseason is now structured, that you can get teams like Arizona sneaking up on you in a short series and making it deep and making it to the World Series. Yeah, the Padres, if they get in, that would be interesting.
Right, and you look over the American League, all right, the Twins, the Guardians, like, this feels like, okay, this feels like the Yankee year.
Right.
I think Yankee fans
salivating, hoping.
You should be excited.
Minnesota. Get Minnesota in. Let's get Minnesota in. Just give us Minnesota.
No,
Make that path even easier.
One of these years the Twins would...
No.
Never?
Against the Yankees? Nah. Not happening. Happy Hour is next, and the Bills made a signing today. We will tell you all about the gold medalist that is now on the Bills roster.
I didn't know they played football in the Olympics.
They don't.
Oh.
They don't. We'll explain. That's on the way next. Don't forget about Last Call at 866-4326.
You're listening And AM 950, The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester, sports update.
Gable Steveson, he is an Olympic champion, won a gold at the Tokyo Games in 2020. He's now a Buffalo Bill. The Bills making the roster move today. Stevenson's never played a down of football before. The Bills are going to try him out at defensive tackle. Steve Tasker on the move.
Stevenson are now going to try to join Bob Hayes as the only athlete in history to win a Super Bowl, as he hopes to do with the Buffalo Bills, and have an Olympic gold medal, which he already got.
In the corresponding move, the Bills releasing punter Matt Haack. Rochester Red Wings are home tonight as they're taking on St. Paul. Top of the ninth, the Reds leading the Cubs 5-3. Ellie De La Cruz with his 32nd stolen base of the season. Yankees and Giants tonight in San Francisco. On the ice, it's Game 5 in Dallas tonight. Stars and Oilers tied at 2 games each. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Definitely the case with OT is definitely early in the offseason still. So not too much to take away, but obviously some things to talk about.
Mike Danger.
That's kind of how I look right now. I kind of look just like Jay Cutler. Like, really? I really don't care.
You don't care.
Oh, who cares?
Let's talk about the Mets here.
Gene Battaglia.
No, we don't need to talk about the Mets. Yes.
You don't want to talk about the Mets?
Let's go Mets.
Darren Waller, yo. How about that?
Listening, it's a good skill to have.
Also, I don't want to watch Hard Knocks anymore. It sucks, but I'm going to watch it.
The Bears.
Touchdown! Touchdown Bears! And for the third time in Dallas Mavericks franchise history spanning 44 years, the Mavericks will play for the NBA championship. Winners of the Western Conference.
My name is Luca.
And the Panthers take Game 5 by a 3-2 final score. And the Panthers take a 3-2 lead in this Eastern Conference final.
The Stars and Oilers break their 2-2 tie in Dallas tonight. Love you, Rochester.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
It's happy hour in the sports bar. Glad you're with us this afternoon. Mike Rotolo stopped by earlier. He was great. And we asked him if Luka is the best player remaining in the NBA postseason. I think he is. Rotolo agrees with me. And now I'm second guessing myself. I'm like, yeah, he might be, but are we sleeping on Boston? We can't trust Boston, even though Boston just mowed through Indiana. The Boston team, when they're firing and they're hitting those threes, that's a hard team to beat.
I thought you were going to go in a different direction with that. Like, Luka isn't doing this if it's not for Kyrie.
Sure.
I mean, let's go back to last year. Dallas tanked at the end of last year.
That's right.
They did. And Dallas this year, January, they're only 4 games above 500, putting around. It took a little while to develop the chemistry, but there's a reason why teams put up with the crap with Kyrie, because when he burns bright, wow. The Cavs don't win that championship if it's not for Kyrie. They don't. They don't come back down to 3-1. Cleveland fans will acknowledge this. It didn't work out in Boston. Certainly didn't work out in Brooklyn. But this, I want to acknowledge this. I was hoping for like Boston, Minnesota, but this is just going to be just as good.
Yeah, and I think that the revenge factor for Kyrie will play into it. You know, Boston fans are going to do everything they can do to get underneath his skin. And the fact that those two, that Luka and Kyrie coexist on this team, and that Dallas got what they thought, what a lot of us thought was damaged goods for practically nothing. I mean, it's a pretty remarkable story to see what the Mavs have done to get to this final. And if Luka at age 25 wins a title, I mean, we keep talking about who's the face of the league. Who's the face of the league? Is it Anthony? Why not Luka? I would love for somebody to be dominant and consistent and do it year in and year out. I don't know if Luka's that guy. We maybe thought Jokic was that guy. Yeah. They couldn't get it done this year. But, man, we're set up with this young talent in the NBA. We are set up for a while here, especially out west with some of these young, exciting stars.
Which this is the thing I don't understand. Like, why couldn't we begin the series on Sunday? And you know the answer to that, because the NBA Finals, these dates are in advance, and it's not quite like the NFL and the Super Bowl, but, they're big sponsors. They got to have the dates. They want to make sure ABC is set up for the month of June, so we have to wait for Game 1 coming up Thursday.
Yeah. It'll be exciting, though, as Minnesota gets bounced by the Mavs last night. Mavs just in dominating fashion.
ending that series, and now they'll take on the Celtics, as you mentioned, Thursday, game 1.
What were you watching more closely? Because last night, honestly, I was watching hockey, and
Same.
I thought that fantastic game.
Same.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that series is crazy. The Panthers do look right now like the better team, and for the Rangers to win this series, they're going to have to kind of dust themselves off the mat. Shesterkin has taken them a long way, but you need more out of your secondary guy. Not even your secondary guys.
They're your main guys.
You need more out of Kreider. You need more out of Zibanejad. You need more out of Breadman. You're just not getting it. And the Panthers are a good team, and they are a good team. And we were talking about this earlier with Rotolo as well. Alexander Barkov, quietly one of the best players in the league. You don't put him up there with the star names that you hear of, the McDavids or even the Drysaddles of the world, the McKinnons. You've got a guy in Barkov that makes everybody around him better. And man, that team, if it ends up being a Florida-Dallas series, as gross as that sounds, the hockey will be fantastic.
Yeah, well, we got 1 year, Dallas, Tampa, and everybody just kind of shrugged their shoulders. But how would this be any different, really, than last year with Florida and in Vegas? I mean, honestly, it ended up being the two best teams. And to me, Dallas, even though they're tied with Edmonton, I expect the Stars to win tonight.
Pivotal game 5.
That's what they say whenever the series is tied at 2. You just can't say the series is tied at 2. It's the pivotal game.
It is. We welcome you into the sports bar. It is happy hour. The weekend is right in front of us. Let's get to it. 95.7 FM, AM 950. Thanks for making this part of your routine. We appreciate you checking out the stream, our video stream, on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. We're also streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. And you can hear us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. The Bills made a move today. And I don't know, Gino. I know that there's talent out there in the free agency market. I know that when you're building a roster, you probably have certain non-negotiables as far as what you're looking for in building a team. One of those for me would be, I'd like a guy who's played football. I would just call me crazy, call me kooky, maybe I'm nutty. Just give me a guy who, even if he just played in high school, I would like to know that guy can play football.
There are exceptions to every rule. I would put the guy that was the kicker for Dallas last year, the Cowboys, like he was playing for
You're not talking about a football player. You're talking about a kicker.
I'm talking about kicker. I'm not right. So like the idea that we're going to teach somebody. Now, granted, he's the best in the world at wrestling. And the punchline is obvious here because, boy, Sean McDermott once upon a time probably was watching this like, wow, he would be really, really good. Like, what is that initial Zoom call? Or does McDermott get on the plane and try to recruit him? How does that all go down?
The Bills have signed 2020 Olympic gold medalist wrestler Gable Steveson. Now, Steveson had a workout with the Bills recently. The report is it was his first time ever wearing cleats. Again, for me, it's a non-negotiable. You want to be part of our roster? Have you played football before? The answer is no? Okay, I'll look elsewhere then.
Okay. I would even take that a step further. Can you help us win a game in 2024? No? What are we doing? Why are you drafting a rugby player who's never played? Oh, but Gene, he could be on the practice squad for 2 years. Okay, we are wasting time. Okay, these coaches only have a certain amount of time, okay? And to teach holding and to teach offside and to teach the basics of the sport. It feels like a minor league stunt. That's what this feels like, okay? Like, I would expect maybe this guy to throw out the first pitch at a Wings game, not to be dressing for the Buffalo Bills. Gable Steveson. Are the Bills that much smarter than the rest of the league, or are they just that more arrogant than the rest of the league?
Yeah, there's an arrogance that is unmatched. This is peak Bills arrogance. Not one, but two players on their roster heading into camp with zero football experience. Fantastic. Wow. Yeah, they are the smartest team in the league, Gene. That's exactly what it is. They are smarter than everybody.
Because when I hear the Chiefs special teams coach talking about they're going to have Justin Reed handle the kickoffs, perhaps they're going to try it out because you know what? If that returner gets by the initial wave, do you really want Harrison Butker, your kicker, making the? No, you want an actual guy who can make the. What does it matter?
He's saying something smart.
That's smart. Let's try something new. Like, what is the best case for Gable Steveson this year? To give an inspirational speech during training camp?
I think that's what it is. I think you signed him to use him as a prop, to have him show up with his gold medals and to use him as a prop for a team meeting where you can bring him up there in front of the entire team and have him talk about what it took to get to the top, what it took to be the best, what it took to win that gold medal in not in football, in wrestling. I think that's the biggest thing for him. That's the major contribution for him his first year. He's probably a practice squad player, right? I mean, like, okay, fine, you got him on the practice. But it is funny how one day you've got the Chiefs doing something and publicly saying something, not holding back. Like, a lot of coaches would be like, don't share your strategy. The Chiefs are like, yeah, this is what we're thinking about doing. And when you hear him say it, you're like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. I bet you the rest of the league will follow suit. And the Chiefs are the best team in the league for a reason. And the Bills come out the next day, and you know what they do? They say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to sign a guy who's never played a down of football. What do you think of that, world? What do you think of that?
Why not stop there? Like who's the best in the world at Taekwondo? Or Wing Chun? Like any martial art, like why jiu-jitsu? Like, what could we do? Why don't we get like Giselle's boyfriend? Like, what? Get the best at every martial art and bring him into Bill's camp and see which guy can be a lineman.
I think you're fishing in the wrong pond. We're going Bassmasters. We're going to go to Bassmasters. We're scouting. There's an intense focus that comes with bass fishing that we want to get the best bass fishermen we can get and put them on the roster.
I like the strongman competitions, particularly the one where the guy carries like the Africa rock. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah. World's strongest man.
Strongman. Why don't we
Magnus von Magnuson.
Why don't we sign him?
Yeah.
Sign him.
Sign Magnus von Magnuson to your roster and have him be, your practice squad guard. Anybody else who's never played a down of football? Where can we look? Oh, I hear the professional bowling tour is a good place to start. Look, this is not to take away from a gold medalist. He's obviously an incredible athlete and a competitor and knows how to win. That's all fine and good, but I'm having a hard time getting past the whole he's never played football thing when you're talking about the new signing for the Buffalo Bills.
Aren't other NFL GMs looking at this and laughing?
I think Sean McVay is probably pointing and laughing. He's made it very clear he has no problem pointing and laughing when he sees other teams do foolish things like he did with Belichick that one year. Belichick's smarter than everybody else, right? Didn't he draft somebody from like a small school and they got McVay on the mic basically laughing at the pick like, oh my God, why are you taking that loser?
When you're wrestling, aren't you like down on a mat rolling around? Like this isn't that. You are actually on your feet. Footwork, all that.
Yeah.
I don't know how those skills translate.
The hands. All right,
the hands, yes.
Chris Trapasso earlier on One Bills Live, doing his job, filling in for Chris Brown, doing his job in talking about Gabe Steveson.
So I think we're talking up the field pass rusher, speed, leverage, handwork. I mean, you're not going to have any concerns with how he uses his hands to win the leverage battle because that's obviously how you win a gold medal.
Yeah, all of that is fine and good. Still can't get past never played a down of football. Still can't get past just recently tried on his first pair of cleats.
Bet you didn't know this about the executive producer. She teaches Tai Chi.
I did not know that.
Why not that? Tai Chi, like when it comes to movement and balance, like we should get the best Tai Chi person in the world.
Brandon Bean scouting out the cornhole tournaments to see.
They announced this on a Friday, too. This feels like a Friday news dump, but I said this earlier in the show. This honestly feels like Sports Bar. Welcome. The Onion version. And in the Onion version today, Sean McDermott signs a wrestler.
Axe throwing. You know what? You get a quarterback on your practice squad who could throw a mean axe. What are we doing, guys? I'm just throwing this log on the I hate every move they've made this offseason fire. It's driving me nuts, Gino.
When are the Olympics? Is that during training camp? Because if not, Brandon Beane's got to get over to Paris.
You know what? I think actually, so he was signed to the WWE for several years, and he was released. And I think the way this time's out, he can't now go. He missed his opportunity to try out for the Olympics, something because of his commitment to pro wrestling. And by the way, Matt Hawk was released in the corresponding move.
So there's that. Like, Matt Hawk wasn't going to be on the team anyways, so.
You didn't need three punters going into training camp. Matt Hawk gets the boot. The other part of this Gable Steveson signing, and this is the part that nobody is talking about, is that he might not be a great dude when it's all said and done either. You go back to 2019, before he won his gold medal at the University of Minnesota, Steveson was accused of suspected criminal sexual conduct. Now, he never was charged. He didn't face those criminal charges, but partially on a technicality. Minnesota state law at the time said that a person couldn't be charged for rape or sexual assault if the victim was willingly intoxicated. He got off.
You're kidding me. That really was a law on the books.
Yes, they closed that loophole in 2021 in Minnesota. But Steveson never faced charges. So there's that as well. And I don't know. I mean, everybody's due a second chance. Where would any of us be without a second chance? We've all made mistakes. But when you're in that situation, it's hard to be sympathetic when you find yourself in that situation, being charged of that kind of crime. So there's a good chance that Gable Steveson may not be a great dude when it's all said and done either.
Aaron writing in, our handle on X, The Fan Rochester. How about the Mountain from Game of Thrones? Ooh, yeah, that guy would be mean. Let's put him in the middle of the defensive line.
For sure. Where else are we scouting for talent for this roster? We got Bassmasters.
What about Butterbean? Is he still alive?
Butterbean. Bring in Butterbean and clog up the defensive line. Plug those gaps. I don't know, guys. I'm really I'm struggling with this offseason for the Bills. I really am. It feels like they're quietly pulling themselves out of contention this year in order to maybe make a better run, a better effort the following year. I just can't make sense of some of these moves.
Well, the point about the cash flow issue.
Well, there's a lot of dead cap on this year, right?
Right, and we understand that. But you still have a little bit of room. In fact, hey, you know what tomorrow is? It's June. Hey, happy Tre'Davious White money come off the books. Mm-hmm. This is not the way I envisioned that. I envisioned, hey, you need a corner. You need another edge rusher. Go make a trade. You have now just a little bit of wiggle room. But we also know that there's a cash flow issue. Like, you're putting the Nighthawks up for sale. Your bigger story here, perhaps, if somebody wants to buy 20, 25%, who knows? Make an offer right now. You can be a minority owner in the Buffalo Bills. Wait a second. What is going on here? The franchise, and this is widely reported, Tim Graham and others, like, does this have to do with the stadium? I assume so.
I think so. I think the overage of the stadium is something they don't want to pay for. So what they're trying to do is find whatever first they're trying to pinch pennies wherever they can pinch pennies, and two, they're going to try and find somebody to pay for those overages by taking a piece of the team, taking over a piece of the team. And look, the chances of Steveson panning out are slim. He's never played football, but even if he does end up making the team at some point in the future, in the next 3 years, he finds himself on the roster. Is he ever going to make Ed Oliver money? No. He's never going to make money that a first-round draft pick would make, or, he's going to be a value if it pans out. So there's that. I think he's a practice squad at best player, and I can't get over the fact that they've got now 2 players who've never played a down of football.
This feels like a Sabres/Amherst move, or just hockey in general. When we watch the NHL draft, oh, hey, yeah, here's this 18-year-old kid, and you might see him like 5 years down the road, or, okay, he's going to be in Rochester for a few years. No, the NFL is win now. Make the roster. If you're on the 53-man roster, there is no such thing as development. You're there to win football games. So, again, looking through the window. And we had yesterday on the show Bill Ryder. Bill Ryder for Wednesday, actually. Ryder than you. And we run the promo all the time where he says, hey, your window's closed, Buffalo, it's over, it's over. Doesn't it kind of feel that way if we're kind of bringing in guys like this that aren't going to help you win games in 2024?
I can't make sense of it, Gino. I can't. Like every move, almost every my favorite move that they've made this offseason is the hiring of John Perry. That move makes sense. Every other move to me doesn't make sense. The trading, the releasing of the players that they released, the trading of your pick with Kansas City, the selection, getting out of the first round and selecting Keon Coleman in the second round, just drafting a rugby player. Now this, Chase Claypool, MVS. Like, I just don't like any of it. I just don't like these moves. It's hard for me to get excited. It's hard for me to get pumped up. It almost feels to me like they're conceding this season in order to make a better push next season when they've got more money to play with, more cap room to play with. They're not going to say that.
No. And they can't say that.
And there's a belief that they can, when you look at their schedule and you have Josh Allen, there's a belief that you can win 10-plus games. I don't know, man. I see these moves. I see this roster, and I'm struggling with it. I need to see it before I believe it. I'm struggling. I don't understand. I know that this move isn't aligned with what their week one roster is going to look like. He's not going to be on the week one roster. But it's the thought process behind it. Like, what are we doing? There are players out there right now
that can help you win games.
Right. That you could add to your roster that could give you more than what you're getting out of a guy who's never played football.
If you had the Rochester Bills as the AAA team for Buffalo and you signed this guy, there's no minor league system. The minor league system's called college football. So, again, what are we doing here?
Yeah, like I said, it would be a non-negotiable for me as an NFL GM. I would probably look at your resume and say, oh, you've never played a down of football? Well, you're a specimen. Congratulations. I'm going to look elsewhere.
Mike Danger, have you ever worn cleats?
Yes.
I have too.
Uh-huh.
I took softball very seriously back in the day, so I can say more than Gable Steveson. I've worn cleats.
I've never worn a singlet, though.
No, I haven't either.
I guess that makes us, we wouldn't be considered for any kind of job with the Buffalo Bills with Sean McDermott calling things if we've never worn a singlet before.
If I got to break the news to Danger today, and I wanted to do this in a joking way, but my mouth was agape. I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we bothering with this?
Well, we'll stop short of saying anything else about Gable Steveson because chances are while we're at Fisher, hey guys, today you're talking to the gold medalist. You're talking to Gable Steveson. Maybe he's a prop. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe it's just having a guy around the team who's a winner, who's achieved greatness, who has a gold medal, who can share his story and maybe inspire others on the team.
There's a little anecdote which kind of relates to this, like guys who never played the sport but are just learning the basics. And Bills fans love themselves some Christian Wade.
Oh, sure.
Christian Wade, big time kind of guy that was in camp and everybody wondering. Well, we did get Christian Wade to come over to the interview tent. And he's coming over. He's coming off the field. Helmet is off. He can't take off his jersey and his harness. And he asked none other than Mike Danger for help.
Yeah. Helped him take his pads off. Couldn't get his pads off by himself, so I had to help him out. Yeah. Oh, hey, look. Gable Steveson will probably get on the field in the preseason. Maybe even makes a play. We're going to fall in love with him, aren't we?
Oh, there's going to be some highlight from Fisher where he's going to blow up some line.
We're going to fall in love with this guy. You wait. And we're going to be like, oh, that guy that's on the practice squad? Let's call up Stevenson, the guy that's never played a down of football. Because he looked really good at training camp.
I would love to. I'm looking forward to. I don't know if McDermott talks this week or we got to wait till minicamp. But he'll be asked about it. Does McDermott, does he light up talking about him?
You know how he'll talk about him. Yeah, Stevenson, obviously, if I'm not mistaken, I think he won a gold medal, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was a wrestler, got that in his background, I'm pretty sure. He'll play it that way.
I'm going to have to read up on that and what Danger is referring to. McDermott has this habit of telling facts, but that
everybody knows.
That everybody knows. Like, Marquez Stevenson, he was with the Chiefs. I think they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, MVS is a winner. He's won a Super Bowl. Yeah. You weren't sure about that, Coach? You forgot about the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl? Okay.
Yeah, there's got to be some reason. I'm going to have to read up on that, why he does that. But.
Let's get to a round of shots next in the sports bar.
Yeah, so we do have fun action tonight on the ice. We'll set you up for the NBA Finals as well. You got to wait for that for a few days. Preservation. This is a story in Boston. Like, you wouldn't think they would tear down the world's oldest hockey arena, right? Well, they are. We'll tell you why that's going to end. And it's actually in Boston. We'll tell you about that. And finally, Danger, I'm going to play some new music for you. Since you have this other role here. Well, there's a sports angle to this. I want your opinion if this is good or not.
Oh, is this somebody venturing off into their career in music, an athlete trying to break it in hip hop? Something along those lines?
Maybe.
Okay.
It's for a reason though that
All right.
We'll get to
I'm here for that. Shots next. Last call gives you the final word in the sports bar. Pull up a stool. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326.
Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills making a roster move. Gable Stevenson, he is an Olympic champion in wrestling. He's never played it down in football. The Bills are going to try him out at defensive tackle. Chris Trapasso, One Bills Live on the move.
So I think we're talking up the field pass rusher, speed, leverage, handwork. I mean, you're not going to have any concerns with how he uses his hands to win the leverage battle, because that's obviously how you win a gold medal.
Punter Matt Hawk in the corresponding move released by the Bills today. Rochester Red Wings are home tonight against St. Paul. That series continues through their weekend. On the Major League scoreboard, just one final. The Reds over the Cubs 5-4. Ellie De La Cruz with his 32nd stolen base of the season. Game 5 tonight in Dallas. It's the Stars and Oilers. The pivotal Game 5, the series tied at 2. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
If you want pure, unfiltered, unadulterated sports, you've come to the right place. 95.7 FM, The Fan, Rochester.
All right, let's get to a round of shots. Happy hour continues in the sports bar.
Yeah, we know our NBA Finals now, and Game 1's going to be Thursday. Dallas at Boston. A series win for Boston. They'll surpass the Lakers for the most titles all time. And one thing that's going to help the Celtics is the return of big man Kristaps Porzingis. At 7'2", Porzingis averaged 20 points and 2 blocks a game this season. Of course, he played for Dallas, just as, well, Kyrie Irving played for Boston, and Celtic fans are sure to let him have it in return. Another storyline here, Jason Kidd trying to become only the 13th coach ever to win a championship as a player and as a coach, and only the 6th ever to do it with the same franchise. Celtics won both matchups this season, one by 28 points and the other by 9.
9 times.
Boston minus 225 on the money line to win the series.
It's going to be great. I'm actually really excited for it. It's going to be great. I love the different storylines and angles here with Kyrie, with Porzingis. Luka is, in my opinion, the best player left in the NBA playing in the finals. And if you see Tatum rise to an occasion here, like that's the thing I'm waiting for. If Tatum has himself a game where it's like, that's the Jason Tatum game, I think Boston can win it. But man, the Luka Kyrie thing and the Kyrie going back to Boston storyline, they're going to crush that guy.
So it was a playoff series against Brooklyn where Kyrie stomping on the Celtic logo. And the thing about Boston fans, they forget things. They don't, they like water into the bridge, nothing here,
And also, just their hospitality is second to none. Downright polite when you're a visiting team. That'll be good.
Dallas Stars minus 130 tonight for their pivotal Game 5 against Edmonton. That series tied at 2. Yes, Edmonton may be top heavy, but they're doing one thing well. That's the penalty kill. 93% this postseason. 8:30 tonight on TNT. 8 o'clock puck drop tomorrow night for the New York Rangers in Sunrise, Florida. The Rangers now down 3-2, but as any Ranger fan will tell you, Danger, they were down 3-2 to New Jersey in the Eastern Conference Final back in 1994. That was the last time New York won the Stanley Cup.
Think about how different the game is from then to now. Like, it is so much faster now, and I don't know. This Ranger team, we were talking earlier with Mike Rotolo, former RIT goalie, was here in the studio with us. The power play, when it's clicking, is indefensible. It's fantastic. But right now, Florida just looks like a better, more well-rounded team. It pains me to say it because I really don't want to see Sam Reinhart hoisting a cup just 1 year after Jack Eichel was hoisting a cup. But man, they just look good. Florida looks good.
Yeah, what's more likely to get to a Game 7, Edmonton-Dallas or Rangers-Florida?
I think Edmonton-Dallas.
I think Dallas takes them out.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, I still don't trust Skinner, the Edmonton goalie. The oldest hockey arena in the world is going to be torn down. Northeastern University has the okay to tear down Matthews Arena and replace it right on campus. Matthews Arena opened in 1910. Like, they didn't even have the Charleston back in 1910, Danger, right? It was once home to the Bruins and the Celtics. It was also the first home, fun fact, to the Carolina Hurricane franchise as they started out as the New England Whalers in another league. This actually had to be done. Now, preservationists are all upset, but there are actual problems with the foundation of the building.
Yeah, just keep playing in the building until it just crumbles.
Down,
it just still crumbles and kills all the spectators. That's what we want for the sake of preservation.
Perhaps the series this weekend with the most sizzle finds the Yankees out in San Francisco. Marcus Stroman going tonight against Jordan Hicks, if you want to stay up for that. The other matchups this week include the Red Sox hosting the Tigers. The Cardinals are in Philly. That's going to be the Sunday night game as well. Pittsburgh's up in Toronto. And for the two people still watching Mets baseball, they're home against Arizona.
Cardinals have gotten good. It pains me, man. I hate saying it.
Well, that division kind of lends itself to a long season.
It's a long season, man. 8-2 in their last 10. They're climbing. They're right behind. I mean, they're a few games behind Milwaukee, but Cardinals. I want to sleep on the Cardinals. I want to shame the Cardinals for being bandwagon fans. They're going to come back around because the team is winning now.
We're not bandwagon fans. We're the best fans in baseball.
Frauds.
CPAP. Brought to you by an update.
CPAP badge on their uniforms. They're sponsored by a CPAP manufacturer. Mouth breathers.
And do you remember the story of the lawsuit concerning Penn State football?
Which one?
Well, this one.
Oh.
Goodman. Dr. Scott Lynch was the team physician who sued
right.
Go, saying he was pressured by head coach James Franklin to clear players when the doctor deemed was not ready to be cleared, and the doctor said he lost his job. The doctor won his lawsuit, $5.25 million.
Good.
Awarded. Some of those, I'm sure, are punitive damages.
No, I wanted to sue because James Franklin was mean to me, and I told him this player couldn't play, and Franklin said he is going to play, and so he got mad in my face, and a little spittle got in my eye, and it broke my glasses. I fell down the stairs, my shoes fell off, I landed on my ass pipe, and I want punitive damages.
Well, you want him there, Salt. $5.25 million.
I'm not done. I'm going after everybody else too. I'm going to go after Debo Sweeney, and I'm going to go after Jim Boeheim. I'm going after Bill Belichick. I'm not done. Punitive damages.
Lynch was fired in 2019. The lawsuit only came about last year. That's it's interesting to me. Penn State is appealing here.
Wait, how does that work? He was awarded $5.25 million, but Penn State is appealing. They're going to try and get that money back now that they've.
I guess you can appeal a lawsuit like this.
I mean, the thing about this is it seems very, very plausible, right? Doesn't it just seem like every single team that has a doctor, the doctor is going to say he's not ready to go, and the coach is going to say, baloney, he's ready to go. We need him. He's out there.
Right. So this is an HR issue. Why did the guy get let go? You didn't have anything else? Okay. Well, good luck with your appeal there. Finally, Danger, I'm going to say, didn't you win some contest picking new music or something like that?
So back in the day, which the day in this instance would be the late 90s, mid to late 90s, there was a music industry competition called AIR. And the AIR competition was appealing to a lot of people in the radio industry because it was kind of like a football pool. You would listen to music, new music, and you would try to predict where those songs would chart on the top 40 chart for any given format. There was an AIR competition for the rock format, and there was an AIR competition for the alternative music format, and certainly the top 40 music format. And to answer your question, I did. I won it 3 consecutive times.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
What the heck are you doing in Rochester then, if you have that here?
I'm not going to lie. My winnings helped me start my adult life. I mean, to be blunt. I mean, like it was found money, and when it happened, I was overcome with emotion, and that was what allowed me to propose to Sandy, is what allowed us to start our lives. Because at that point, I was still battling out of debt, and so yeah, that would have been the late 90s, early 2000s.
Well, thank goodness you didn't go to Miami and do things you might have done younger.
Right.
Well, I bring this up because I've got some new music I want to play for you.
You have it on your computer over there?
I have it on my computer.
Okay.
And you don't know who this is from. But just give this a listen. Tell me if this is going to pop. What do you say if it's going to be a hit? A banger? Is that the word we would use?
I'm not going to use that word. I can't believe you tried to.
Give this a listen.
Okay.
You know, in life, it's hard to love. It's hard to be free. It's hard to give all of your soul.
I'm done. Next.
No?
Nope.
Okay, well, that wasn't an actual musician. That was New York Giant tight end Darren Waller. And the track is called Who Knew Her Perspective. He wrote it about his breakup with his wife, Kelsey Plum of the Las Vegas Aces. Even a little more disturbing is that, the music video, he hired an actress who kind of resembles her a little bit. While the divorce isn't final, the paperwork began in April. It's headed that way. I don't know. Sounds like he's trying to get her back.
Wow. All right, let's see if it works. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works.
I mean, like back in my day, like what was the movie there where...
Say anything. The boombox.
Boombox.
Yeah, put the boombox above your head. Yeah, John Cusack.
Not good enough. You have to have a YouTube there.
Yeah, do a YouTube video and write your song and record your song. That song is terrible. Well, let's see if it works. We're all pulling for you, Darren. By the way, do we know if he's playing this year?
We do not.
He hasn't made up his mind yet?
He could retire.
That's fantastic. Well, hopefully he retires and pursues his musical career, because that is wow.
Bad?
No, not great. Not great. Not really.
Not charting? No.
Not great, Bob. That's a no chart for me, dog. We got last call next in the sports bar. You can pull up a stool and join us at 866-432-6585, 866-4FAN.
Curly Culp, Kansas City Chief, was a wrestler, Hall of Famer. Fred Smirlis was a wrestler. But, his genius is this guy could be in the new kickoff setup where you don't need speed, but you need strength. So I think that's what McDermott's thinking. What are your thoughts?
All right, I'll entertain that last point, but how do you get him up to speed, right now, John?
I mean, I guess if it's a play that nobody has ever played, you don't really need to have played football. So maybe John's onto something there. Like, there isn't a single player on this roster that has played that play before.
Wait a second. John actually gave us a take.
Yeah, that's a strong point.
Wow.
Why not?
And we head to the weekend.
We'll be back Monday. New episode starting at 3 o'clock. Hope you enjoy your weekend. Thanks for listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan.